and welcome to the world of tomorrow.
The Addicted to Loot podcast,
Episode 888.
from the future. Or actually, more from the past. I guess it depends on which way you look at it.
It's all relative. The glass is half addicted to loot. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And welcome back, or welcome for the first time. We're always open for new listeners. This isn't, it's not like you have to be following the convoluted narrative of this soap opera or anything. But if you'd like to know about the ups and downs of my my storied history with my long-lost twin, just go and listen to all the past episodes.
Yeah, last week, in the episode where Tommy came down with a rare exotic disease out of Shady Helms.
I may or may not be my twin. Who knows? Who's to say? So hey, video game news, because that's how we start these things. Brian, tell us what's happening in the world of Eve.
Real big news for the world of Eve after, I think it was like 12 to 15, I think it's 12 years. After 12 years of being a subscription game, Eve is officially going free to play. To the point where, anyone and everybody, if you have a PC out there, you can be an Eve player. You can just sign up with an email, make a quick profile, download the game. And
I have email.
Oh my god! Yeah, and then that's it. You're a pilot.
Wow.
Just like
is that how it works?
Just like that, you're officially a pilot. You are licensed to drive a spaceship, freighter, crater, whatever.
Harry Potter at Hotmail address is going to get me my own spaceship at last.
Well, just like all other, I'd say, big name free to plays, like WoW is somewhat free to play now. But Knights of the Old Republic, Eve's free to play does come with some limitations. You do get indefinite free playing time. However, the skills that you are allowed to gain during that free to play are almost next to nothing. And for those who don't know,
hang on a second. I got the perfect thing. I have this pinned on my phone for exactly such occasions.
Okay. Okay, how often in your daily life do you actually use that?
You would be surprised. But yes, it has limitations as heck.
But yeah, it and to those who don't know Eve, how it works or anything else, you don't actually gain experience. You actually just over time gain skills. It literally is, you can log in 1 second so that your character is active, and you could level up your character to the absolute max just using your phone from that point on out, and you can just orient which skills to train at which times, and that's it. So those skills allow you to have better, flight control, better weapon damage, but also allows you to basically fly bigger ships or different types of ships. And if you are following along this narrative, that means that you can only fly smaller ships or a certain subset of ships based on the skill tree. So you definitely you have indefinite playing time on the smallest ship in the game for free. And that's all you that is you. And I played Eve free to play during one of their, I think it was like a week or a weekend or a month or something. It was free, but it was still like the whole game that was free for however long the period was. And it's just, I don't know.
Here's the thing. I know literally nothing about the gameplay of Eve, so can you, tell both our listeners and me?
I mean, for the most part, Eve is, the skill tree works in the sense of, this kind of filters into how the game works, is it's almost like the Matrix. You have things that get plugged into your head. If you wanted to fly better, in order to, let's say, increase your level or train a new skill, your pilot's head basically gets uploaded with data or gets, improved kind of thing. So if you wanted to going out, completing missions, killing people is purely for loot and just for fun. There's no experience gained from killing. It really is, skill training is time. So you and I both could be playing. You could kill 1,000 ships. I could just spend the entire day playing Angry Birds, and we have the same level because we both been
Are you sure you don't have us confused there?
I thought it'd be a cool contrast, but then the battle itself or the gameplay itself is really, it's point and click for the most part. It's okay, you fly out of your little, you get out of the space station. okay, I need to go here. So you click a few buttons, your cruiser starts to autopilot to that destination. You warp to that destination, you warp to another destination, you go through a warp gate, you click on a point of interest, you fly over to that point of interest. There's no actual manual flying. That's one of the things that's negative to me. And then in combat is, you click on a guy, you say weapons active, and you go shoot things, and you can tell them like, what distance to stay away from it, which way to like fly around it, how to navigate that, but you don't sit there and dogfight. You ultimately just tell the guy, okay, start shooting at him, use this thing at this time, okay, shoot this, shoot that, shoot the other thing. Okay, now change the distance so that we can optimize this weapon, and then eventually they blow up.
So would you classify it as an RTS?
No. It's I don't know. Maybe in like the most basic of senses.
Yeah, I'm having trouble like categorizing it.
It's like if you took the controls of a MOBA, but it literally is point and click, and you just trigger or toggle weapons or abilities. That's really it. It's not like you sit there, you zoom in on on the enemy. It's not like you have to like figure out, okay, I need to target this part of the enemy at this time. It's I don't know. Even if you took like any standard MMO, like even if you took WoW, you can't move, and your combat is literally you click on a guy, and then your character eventually runs over to him and starts swinging blindly. So your basic attack is just, it is what it is. And occasionally you hit a strong blow or something like that because you're telling it to use like disposable ammunition or something like that. So it's, a lot of people spend tons of time in Eve, and Eve is still very, very well populated for an MMO. But it's I don't know. I couldn't get into it at all. I did a few missions and a few, I guess, systems is the correct term, and it was just travel over here to this point, warp over here, fight these few people, collect the stuff they drop, wash, rinse, repeat. I mean, but I even found that less interesting than, WoW, Knights of the Old Republic. Let's see, what other
Let's
MMOs
just name them off. Yeah. No,
I mean,
that doesn't really sound all that interesting. I like a game that is I don't know, something that I'm playing. Granted, I am a person who does like clicker games, those ones where you just like you cookie clicker and things like that.
But it's different when you go into a clicker game knowing that you're getting a clicker game.
Right.
When I go into an MMO, I don't want like a surface experience. I mean, it looks pretty. Things, it does look like a space game, but it doesn't feel like it. I think that what draws people into it is the fact that the universe is completely pliable, where, groups of people or, guilds, factions, whatever you want to make them. Yeah. Groups of people can make their own spaceport. They can make their own shipyard. They can make their own ships. It's...
For sure.
That pliability does add a different layer to it, but it wasn't enough for me as a new player to really get into it. It was just too, I don't know, there wasn't enough depth to actually draw me into it.
So how do you think then this is going to go with this? Obviously them going free to play is to kind of, I would imagine, to attract new players. They have no reason to do it otherwise.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is a few things. It's going to be, there's going to be people just who do it because it's free, but they don't really have any like main interest in it. Then you have, which might not give them that much. Yeah. Then you'll have a few people that are like, I've always wanted to try Eve, but the subscription always, made me kind of hesitant, so I'm going to go in and try it. And then from those people who actually go into it thinking, well, maybe, then a small fraction of them, they'll actually be able to pull in for some odd reason. But maybe something catches their eye, or it turns out to be a game that they think it is or want it to be. But for anyone who's currently playing it or already playing the subscription, literally nothing changes besides you are a quote-unquote, I think they have alphas and omegas. Omegas have full breadth of the game. Alphas only have the small skill tree, and that's really it. So maybe, I don't know if the extra population or extra like traffic in the game will bring anything to like the economy or whatever, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to say what it's going to do for it. I mean, if you look at WoW and a few other things, it allows people to at least get into it if they want to hop back into it or retest it out.
Right.
Which kind of either leads to people, I think, it leads to a few more subscriptions here and there. And if you think about what a company is probably losing for letting a game go free to play, even for a few levels, probably is negligible to even if they get one person subscription fee for a few months.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it's probably every other MMO forcing Eve's hand because they were like the last big MMO giant that wasn't at least some form of free to play.
Right, exactly, because even WoW has been had their free to play option for a good year at least.
Yeah, for a pretty long time now. I mean, it's level 20 to a game that maxes out at a level 110.
Yeah, now.
But
yeah.
still, it's complete open, every part of the game is free to you to level 20 and then it stops. As opposed to this, which is the entire game's open to you, but you can't do everything you want with it. So
I'd love to know how, and I know I bang on about this endlessly, but I'd love to know how WildStar did because they debuted as a pay MMO. They very much wanted to be the space WoW, and in a lot of regards, or not space WoW, but like sci-fi WoW, you know, and in a lot of regards they are, both aesthetically and in gameplay. But once they went free to play, they went free. This wasn't like, free to level 20. They went fully free to play, and that was what made me say, well, I've always thought this looked kind of interesting. I have now no excuse to not play it because I can play it to my heart's content, and I did, which is like, I'm curious how their business model like balanced out. They obviously are still doing it. They haven't shut it down. Who knows? We have a history of saying things and then sometime like 2 days after we've recorded, something relevant happens.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between fully free to play and partly free to play, because I think something that goes fully free to play, like WildStar, like you just said, they need to do something to counteract that. So it's either like they become somewhat freemium, or they have to like somehow throw in advertisements somewhere. There was one MMO that I'm thinking about it that you and I played for like a week that was very vibrant. Oh my god, it had a few classes, it had a really interesting skill tree. I'll have to try to think of it. It probably isn't weighing on my mind because as soon as it came to life, it kind of fell away because it was fully free. 100% of the game was available to you, completely free. It was interesting at first, and then it got to a point where you either had to pay, put out for some kind of content, or so many people were just shelling out money for it anyway.
Boy,
that it was
this
just
is not ringing a bell for me. What it could be.
I don't know why. I can see it, but I cannot figure out any other way to describe it. It was just
fantasy,
this weird
sci-fi.
No, it was fantasy. It was this random MMO that you actually introduced me to, which is the funny part. And it was a fantasy game. It had
Rapples?
No, not Rapples. Rapples will be one of those games that goes on for, I don't know. It's like in my memory bank. It's like one of those infamous MMOs. I love Rapples, but no, it was modern. But when I say modern, maybe like plus or minus 2 years, something like that. I remember playing it a while ago. Like I said, it's not really ringing a bell, but it was another one of those games where it was like WildStar. It was launched, but this one was launched full intention, free to play, and it just tanked. And it was because as any freemium game
Dungeon Runners?
No, I actually wanted to try Dungeon Runners, but that actually went bankrupt right before I wanted to actually try to get into it, or they shut down right before I tried to get into it.
That was made by the City of Heroes people, right?
Something similar.
Something like that.
Yeah, but
wow.
Maybe one of these days, if I remember it, I'll let people.
If we remember it by the time we post this episode, we'll put it in the show notes.
Somehow, yeah. But yeah, it was just.
We'll just dub it in. It'll be like you'll all of a sudden hear this like really static recording.
Just a random pause, some robotic voice, and then it just keeps on going. But yeah, it was. I don't know. MMOs that go full free, I feel like shoot themselves in the foot in a way, one way or the other. Like at least even like the Knights of the Old Republic, still hold off a few things that would make you want to go into a full subscription. But the best thing about them is, hey, you want to play a month, just pay a month. Hey, you want to play for like the next 3 months? Here's a flat price. Yeah. As opposed to WoW or Eve, where it's like you need to sign up for the subscription.
I feel like things have entered a really good kind of, and I think it's probably because these systems have existed for well over 10, maybe 15 years now. There's these these new things, these kind of cloud systems that are popping up everywhere. Adobe's got it. I know East West uses it with their sample libraries with music. These great, like, do you need this month? Pay this month. Do you feel like you're going to use it this year? Hey, here's a killer discount on a 1-year subscription to it.
Exactly. And at least that's what I liked about Knights of the Old Republic. I actually liked it enough where I shelled out, I think, for a 1-month subscription, just so that I wanted to get the full experience way back when. And I was, more than happy with it, because then a little bit after that, I got, something was happening. I fell off, like the game kind of fell off for me. And it was like, I didn't feel bad about it, but it was a game like WoW or something. I'd just have to sit there and either cancel my subscription, then reactivate my subscription and go through all that hassle, where it literally is, the only thing that changes is once the subscription wears off, you can play your exact same character the exact same way.
Yep.
But this one feature now is locked.
No, I think that there's some cool developments, or at least just this system, this service, this kind of marketing exists. It might as well be good, and it is at a level where I feel that it is good and affordable.
Okay. And if you want to help with this search and we have not found it to Friday, leave some MMOs in the comments. Maybe it will help jog my mind. But it was a fantasy-based MMO, I would say within a few years. That's, like I said, it's already been completely shut down, so it'd be hard to find.
Man.
But going on to
I'm
more...
stunned that we can't remember that.
Yeah, it's weird too, because it came out, it was kind of in the news for a little bit. You pointed it to me. Maybe we should try this. I think you played for a little bit. Then I'm like, okay, I'll try. Then I hopped in, and I was like a dwarf, some kind of shielded guy for a while. And then like I was playing it a little bit more than you did. I'm like, and like the very first few levels of every single class were kind of cool. And then it just died for like almost completely for every class. So I was just, man, I really wish I could figure that out. I'll wrap my brain around it and maybe come up with something.
Write in and tell us your favorite MMOs.
Yeah. Living or dead.
Living or dead.
But in the more current living situation...
Well, for anyone who hasn't been shot in the head by a sniper...
Oh! Or run over by a horse.
Oh!
Or tank.
If you haven't figured it out yet, yes, we're talking about Winnie the Pooh's Rumbly Tumbly Adventure 2.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Shutting down the podcast.
That's it. Game of the year
over.
Forever.
We can't top this.
It is truthfully my favorite game of all time.
And I'll put the little dash for this episode.
Check that one
Start
out.
to tally now. See where we get to.
Yes. As promised, we both tried our hand at the Battlefield 1 beta for an hour. Maybe two.
We did 2 or 3 hours. Probably 2-ish hours. About 2-ish hours.
Yeah.
We did it on the rush map only because, okay, complaint number 1, we did it on the rush map because it was the only one that freaking worked for those 2 hours.
Yeah, not our fault. There was a a hacking kind of DDoS shutdown sort of that happened.
The server for like all the servers for the first few days were just completely and utterly unplayable. Somehow we did it the day of the full-on release.
Yeah.
After a few hours of just staring at the website to see when they were up again, finally, I actually got on a server by myself. I was able to connect to it. I was running around by myself, just da-da-da-da, captured the first 2 points, did whatever. All of a sudden, after like 10 minutes of just me running around by myself, I get hit in the shoulder by something. I'm like, was that a dust bunny, or am I actually just like, or is someone actually in here? So I'm like running around going like, am I seeing things? And eventually I see like another player run around the corner. I'm like, oh my god, the servers are actually up and I'm just not in here on a glitch.
It's literally the second Battlefield 1 player.
So, I mean, that's complaint number 1. Servers were a huge deal the entire time we were trying to play.
It's funny because I assume that all server issues were credited to this DDoS attack because I was playing it, as I said last week, I was playing it kind of like the sort of day before, I think, that it went out. Yep. And I had no connection problems. And there were a good number of people playing. But who's to say? Maybe it's a very clever maneuver by EA saying, oh yes, server issues. Ugh, those crazy hackers. Because they kind of notoriously have had some bad launches with servers.
Like almost every single one.
So It'd be really funny if it was an inside job. But, conspiracy theories aside, Brian, what's your independent takeaway of Battlefield 1?
It was a lot of randomness. It was it was very hectic, very pretty. But overall, if we weren't playing together, would I enjoy it? Probably not. It was, I don't know, I mean, the classes seemed it seemed pointless to change classes almost. It was to the point where, you had a medic, you had an assault, you had a support, and you had a sniper. The medic kind of made sense because you can at least kind of chuck med kits at people and stab people with syringes.
Yeah, I think I kind of figured out how it works.
Eventually, that's another thing that we can talk about. Then the support class kind of just had a bigger machine gun, but ultimately, I don't know how they supported anybody at all. I guess.
You never really were in a position where you were running out of ammo.
No, that was the thing. It was so. Then you have the assault class, which was pointless for the map we were on because anyone with a sniper could completely take you out before you could ever be effective, rather, not affected.
Yep.
And then the sniper actually was fun, but I mean, the arcing capability was hard to predict, and it was one of those. Anyone who was I'd say a great COD or Battlefield player at all, ever, it functioned the same way with a different type of mask over it. I mean, it was...
I do think Battlefield vets had a home court advantage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it literally was the exact same game, different type of... different uniform. It was just...
Different decade.
I like the 2 hours we played, I had fun just because we were being completely and utterly, stupid, I would say, in a way.
It quickly evolved into that, which is funny because even when we play Overwatch or, we're taking it somewhat seriously. We're trying to win. And this just really quickly, I felt like we were just like, okay, anything goes. All right.
It was, I don't know. It just was not my cup of tea. I mean, it's weird. It's just getting a lot of decent press for being a fun game. But it was...
Yeah, I feel like we're really counter to the popular opinion of the media on this one.
It could be. But like I said, if you just wanted a new turn of a month first-person shooter, multiplayer, heavy experience, great. It fits that role. It's just, it doesn't do anything for me. And the other weird thing, I was reading this, horrible balancing problems because there was 2 times when we'd be sniping next to each other and we would have dust storms come through. We had no idea what was going on because obviously dust storms, you could barely see 2 feet in front of you, and when you're playing a sniper, it kind of sucks. But apparently, the dust storms are location-driven.
Yeah.
So if you were in 2 different parts of the globe, one person can barely see in front of his face, the other guy could just walk up to you and be like, hey, I'm kicking you in the forehead. And man, this dust storm is hard! And it's weird to think that
it was it's client side, not server side, or a local, side, not server side.
It was just, I don't know, it was weird. That's a huge balancing issue. The vehicles were kind of fun.
I will say the vehicles were fun. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
The vehicles were fun. I mean, those were kind of cool, and everything that had the World War I feel to it kind of felt kind of cool. The fact that things were definitely, they looked old. Maybe that's the best way of saying it. Yeah. They looked and felt like they should be in World War I. I just didn't feel like I was in World War I, so I didn't have a great time with it.
They conveyed, it's like I said last week, through their sound and through their visuals, they really conveyed the messiness of World War I. And even if it wasn't historically accurate messiness, the atmosphere was appropriately, oh my god, this is nuts. And there were actually some really funny moments where you or I would be like, I'm just gonna be fucking charging, man. I'm going for it. Wish me luck. Say goodbye to me mum for me.
Yeah, and we literally just be like, oh my god, there's a guy flanking over there. Tom, I need to stop this. I'm just gonna charge into the point.
Yeah, there's a tank. This is a known area that tanks and other vehicles pass through. We've got to get from here to the point, so let's just go for it. And it's I was mostly playing the medic to your assault or sniper, and that was a cool feeling for me because it was like, and you were the squad leader, weirdly, just by chance.
I don't know how that ever happened.
And you were like consistently the squad leader, so it was really this feeling of like, okay, tell me where to go, tell me where you need me. I wish that I knew sooner that jabbing people with the syringe brings them back from the dead. Kind of found that out by mistake.
Yeah, and the revive time was. It was weird because you almost had like no time to get to me ever, and you were like right next to me.
Yeah,
I could die within like your sights, and you're like, I'm here, I'm gonna come in. Oh, you already respawned.
Well, and I'd be just kind of jabbing a rock with a syringe. Like, you can't get better.
I don't know. It was. I don't know. What were your thoughts? Maybe that's
what I said last week, and I ended last week by saying maybe it'll change when you and I play. It didn't change. The only difference is exactly what you said. It was fun to be experiencing that with you specifically, because it was like, oh, okay, well, at least we're going down on this sinking ship together. And there were a couple of points where we and our team did well.
Yeah,
it just never felt.
Yeah, we had a few good goes at it. When there was a few we won single-handedly, there's other ones where we just got steamrolled, but
yeah. But I never felt like the compulsion that I get from really like any other shooter. And this is including Battlefield 4. I feel a compulsion of like, whoa, that was intense. Let's do it again. This was kind of like, I feel like I'm demoing this for the purpose of talking about it on our podcast.
Yeah, that literally was
done.
That was the exact reasoning for it. I mean, it was one of those games, like, let's just say, after those 2 hours, I probably would have requested a refund, just because...
I uninstalled the beta. I was like, I'm not going to be going back to this.
Yeah, I definitely had no intentions of going back to it whatsoever. And even if I wanted to try the bigger map, minus the fact that I might be able to get a flying airplane, that's not enough to pull me back in. It was just, I wasn't happy with it. No idea.
I would be really interested what our listeners thought, because I know that at least a good cluster of you that listen to this are Battlefield fans. How does it stack up? Are you guys regular Battlefield players? How does it feel? Again, my experience is only 4, and 4 kind of has like a controversial opinion. Some people were like, oh my god, 3 is the best, or oh my god, take me back to Battlefield 1942. It's like...
Oh my god, Battlefield 1942. That was like one of the original PC games I ever had.
Wow.
Oh, that takes me back. I love that game. And like it's strange because like I thought like going into this, you did Battlefield 4, which was maybe the previous one to this, right?
Sort of. There was 4, and then there was Hardline, which was the kind of cops and robbers one.
Yeah.
But that felt such like a side game almost. It was the next Battlefield, but it felt almost like a thing they did askew to it, and then it was like, okay, back to our actual Battlefield formula.
Yeah, and it was just, that's what I thought, like, well, you played all of that. I haven't played a multiplayer one, and I couldn't actually tell you the last time I played a Battlefield. So I'm like, I'm coming in this completely and utterly almost unbiased in the sense of I haven't played one that I can remember. I'm sitting there going, well, maybe he'd like it more because of the fact that he has played up to the more recent ones.
Yeah, it's really interesting that we both have the same opinion and are coming from two completely different directions on it.
Like, yeah, I had fun to the point where it was fresh and new. As soon as I got used to the level and the characters, I had to start screwing around to have fun.
Yeah.
And it was weird because it's the map. Maybe it was the map. Who knows? But it wasn't set up to the point where I felt like I needed to work with people or anyone else or cared.
Well, it's like you never quite, yes, it splits you up into squads, and that makes sense of the chaos. It's you and... It's like I said last week, you and 3 or 4 other buddies kind of going at it together. But doesn't it feel, you were the squad leader, doesn't it feel like you're herding cats? You're just like, come on, guys. Objective B is falling to the enemy, and they're all standing right there.
All you could do as squad leader was you could highlight a point, and that was it. So in that sense, I did my duties. I highlighted a point. Occasionally, I got experience if someone on my squad did things towards the point.
FYI, that was me.
Yeah, literally, that was it. So
that was me dying near the point. It was like, objective, you gave an attempt to it.
Exactly. So it wasn't like anything else where like you had communication or you're trying to tell people, hey, try to come over here. It was I don't know. I mean, that was the only benefit I got from being a leader, is that I got occasional bonus points if someone on the squad just so happened to do something in the general area.
Yeah. There was something that felt weirdly overpowered about the snipers to me, and I don't know what to really attribute that to.
But it was weird because we kind of talked about this before we went into it. But, World War I, the one thing I would want most out of it is the fact that I want to be able to go in with my M1 Garand or something, some kind of single-shot weapon, and just, have a ball with it. But it felt like almost every single person was a sniper, as opposed to, I don't know, which in of itself, I guess, was weird, because it's like sniping was fun, but I wanted to go in there as like, I wanted to be an assault person with a single shot. The closest you could get to that was the medic, which is weird.
Yeah, I know. It was really weird. When I went to the medic, I was like, oh, here's my M1 Garand, gun. Yeah. So my bolt-action gun.
So it's like, I played that just because it was a bolt action, but then even then, it's like, well, I don't like doing this because I can't get anywhere close enough to even use the damn thing.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know.
I can't believe I forgot about this. The best moment that I had throughout the entire beta, you and I were playing, you had spawned over much more near where the combat was, and I was way off on the side. So I said, oh, I'm coming your way. And the far side of the map is more vehicle-based. It's a little bit more open.
Yeah,
the side was more like
I know what you're talking about now.
And so I was running. I was trying to get towards one of the objectives, and just a tank just crests over the hill. I mean, this was if dubstep was playing, that would have been the pause before the drop. And it just stopped. I am 1 foot from this tank, and all I had was my pistol, and I stood there, and it looked at me, and I looked at it, and long enough for the other player to consciously be not firing at me and just looking at me. And so I just went pew with my pistol, and kaboom. There went me. That was hilarious, but so the antithesis of what Battlefield wants you to be doing, which is valuing your life, taking it very seriously, moving stealthily.
Yeah, none of that happened. I mean, that's the thing. It was fun for those few moments of just wackiness. Oh, my story of wackiness. I was literally, there's this one random artillery piece on this one side of the map that has the worst viewing point that you could ever have with artillery, because the spawn point for the two capture points is probably 10 yards, 15 yards ahead of the capture point.
Yeah,
an artillery piece is only effective at multiple miles away. Well, guess what? We weren't. So I'm just sitting there picking off random people that just kind of walk around. And out of nowhere, I'm just randomly just unloading this thing and just shooting off shells as quickly as I can in no apparent direction, occasionally getting some points for damaging
Splash
someone.
Damage.
Yeah. And then I'm just sitting there loading it, and I just hear Tommy go, Brian, there's a horse. Brian, there's a horse. There's a horse. I'm like, where's the horse? Then you just see on my screen a horse. All I saw was nothing but a horse chest.
Just pure horse.
It reared up in front of me, and I just unloaded a shell into the chest of this horse and got the kill. But it happened in the way that as soon as I loaded the artillery and I could have fired, it was in my sight. So it was just like, Brian, there's a guy. Boom. Yep, got him. Unload. Shoot again.
So
I was
funny.
Like, what just? But the best part was I hit the first time. I killed the rider instantly. Well, because obviously an artillery shell just hit him in the gut. The horse wouldn't move from out front of the artillery, and I couldn't see around him. So I'm like, okay, I know what I have to do.
This is an uncomfortable situation.
I shot again to try to just get the horse away. And the splashback killed me out of all things. I was like, how the hell does this even work?
This was where I found out that using the needle will bring someone back from the dead.
But yeah, those moments of insanity were probably the only reasons why I liked the 2 hours I played it. And then after that, just no, thank you.
I think that and I did say this last week, I think it does it well. It's not our kind of game.
Yeah, maybe.
So take that with a grain of salt. You know?
But for all the people out there who do like it, who do have a good time with this, you'll let us know why. I mean, let us know what about it's great about it. And if it is literally just, it's the next Battlefield game and I wanted to do a multiplayer shooter, hey, great. Let us hear it, because maybe that is the crowd that they should be playing this.
Yeah.
Maybe we were like the absolute worst reviewers of it. Who knows?
Well, it just felt so strange to me because, again, as I said last week, I feel like I like first-person shooters. I like first-person shooters as a genre, not necessarily, I like this specific type. I just really enjoy the feeling of maneuvering around a, space, and it's laser tag, right? And when the stakes are much higher. And so
sure. We'll go with that.
That's basically what all first-person shooters are, right?
Yes,
high-stakes laser tag.
You need to respawn. That's about it.
Well, yeah, and you don't actually die for real at all in either of those. But, this metaphor is getting away from me faster than a Turkish man on a horse. The bottom line is, as a fan of both first-person shooters and previous Battlefield games, this one particularly I did not enjoy my experience with.
And me as just a gamer, not a fan. But I would probably, like I said, I would much rather just jump back into Overwatch if I was actually going to do much of anything, really. Oh, fun fact, I'm looking through this is perfect timing, I'm trying to scour MMO lists to figure out what the hell that game was. And as soon as I said Overwatch, apparently Overwatch is an MMO, 3D MMO, per this one list, which now instantly discredits this list.
Well, so much for that.
Well, for those who might have been listening to our final take on Gamescom-a-thon, we were actually talking about Titanfall 2, one of the the bigger showers in Gamescom, and it was, we did a big long look at it, and we actually were saying, contrasting Tommy's past experience with it, and saying, maybe what Titanfall really needs to really get back into the life of it, or actually have staying power with a lot of people, is kind of changing up the fact of their Titans. They need more of them, or they need to change them. They need to do something. They need to make the Titan in Titanfall a bigger, rise instead of a fall. Well, guess what? They heard us, apparently.
Hi, Respawn.
It was literally the next day after the cast went live, so maybe someone is listening in to the old Addicted to Loot podcast.
We love you guys. If you need any more advice, just let us know.
It was just really lucky timing, and we just maybe know how people think. But Titanfall, guess what? There's new Titans for Titanfall 2.
And they are awesome.
Oh, there is this link, obviously, in the comments. The announcement trailer for all of them does a quick few second highlight reel for each one of them. But oh my god, is it just amazing? There's 6 new Titans, all which their own variety. I'm assuming these are 6 include to add to the previous 3.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I don't actually know if they're replacing them or if they're adding to them.
I did assume they were replacements, but it's very possible that they could be adding to the original 3. Because the original game had 3 Titans, and we were joking before the recording. You said, so what were they, small, medium, and large? But literally, that's what they were. It was small and fast, Mr. Average, and big slow tank.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, if we're looking at the classes in our cool little cheat sheet right here,
don't tell them the secrets.
I just don't know where the standard low, small, medium, large actually fit into this, because
these are really specialty.
So I would almost be more inclined to say that these are direct replacements. So instead of getting 3 Titans, you now have 6. Would be probably the more accurate take. So with that, we'll kind of run down the list here and maybe talk a little bit of this. Me just being from the trailer standpoint, and Tom being from the actual playing standpoint, even though he might have not actually ever been in a Titan when he was playing.
Yeah, should I mention that now?
Yeah, I should probably talk about what you did in Titanfall and your decisions for it.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I my Titanfall experience, I've kind of touched on this before. I almost never was actually in the Titan. I spent basically all my time as the Out of Titan pilot because I just loved it so much. I loved the shotgun. I loved the way that Titanfall worked. I don't know if we've ever adequately said this. Titanfall introduced MOBA creeps and minions to an FPS. Or I guess maybe this has existed before, but it introduced it in a really big way so that you weren't necessarily just fighting the 6 other players, you were also fighting very low level, like single or 2-shot creeps that were populating the map. And that added some really cool things, like especially one of my favorite things to do was some maps had kind of like robots, sort of, and as one of the creep types, and if you used your dagger in the back of their head, it was actually, surprise, a hacking dagger, as they can be sometimes, and it would hack into them and make it fight for you. So one of my favorite things to do was call down the biggest Titan, which is so not what I ever do. I'm usually the small, fast kind of archetype, but call down the biggest Titan and either have him patrol a capture point or follow me around, because you could just tell the Titan to either, sit, stay, be good, good boy, or come fetch the bad guy. And I would have him follow me around usually and go around just hacking these little creeps, these little minions, with my hacking dagger in the back of their hacky skulls. And so all of a sudden, I had just this massive force of this massive Titan and all these robot ducklings following me. And it just was like, and I could bounce around and get the heck out of a firefight and just be like, all right, go to town, boys. Go for it. And that's what I loved so much in Titanfall. It's like I was this almost walking commander of a miniature, very disposable army, but it was an army nonetheless. I was doing a Zerg rush, right? In Titanfall. I was just like, okay, guys.
StarCraft 2 tactics.
I was like, okay, guys, just go swarm the point. I'm going to go bounce off and do whatever, And so this actually, seeing each of these Titan types, I'm excited to try all of them. They all sound really cool. So I may actually be convinced to, A, pick up Titanfall 2, and B, maybe actually try being a Titan in Titanfall.
I think this is a good point that we were speaking about before we started recording is, you always said how much you loved the pilot and how, like, the movement of it, the guns, the control, all the little nuances of the standard pilot control is what really made you want to stay with a pilot.
Yep.
But the main reason why you didn't like the Titans was because they almost felt like a less advanced pilot, in the sense of it was just kind of like the same thing, but in a giant mech suit, and I don't get all the cool little features.
Yeah, I think I did like the way that the Titans handled melee, like punching other Titans felt cool in the, oh my god, what a childhood fantasy, big robots punching other big robots, that's neat. And I loved the animations for when you got into the Titan because it was contextual, so if you were running up under your Titan, it would literally, using its hand, pick you up and scoop you into its chest, into the pilot position for it. And that kind of felt cool. It was like, this is my big robot buddy, And obviously, with their campaign making that a, like, story beat is, yes, this is my robot buddy. We have emotions.
But, but to your point, I think the new Titans actually will bring in a lot of cool diversity, maybe, like changes of pace. We were kind of brainstorming on this, like what could it really bring? Like, different types of maps could call for different types of Titans. Maybe you could actually make a specific Titan layout to the point where, like, you have mostly heavies, but then you have 1 or 2 light ones because you need the variety or something like that. Or,
right, it's almost like picks and bans.
Yeah, so it's like it'd be very interesting on exactly how they actually can interact with everything. But let's just start going down the list. So Legion is an interesting one.
Shepard Commander.
Meh?
Sorry, Mass Effect reference. Keep going.
I was like, what did I miss? What did I miss? But actually, almost maybe Legion looks like the medium from the original one.
Yeah, he
like
looks
that.
pretty much the standard.
Or like
almost.
the heavy. He looks, for the most part, he has this Gatling gun. He has the deployable shield, which is like, he kind of looks like a tank, a little bit heavier, but he's definitely not, I would say, a heavy. But
very interesting. Has a Gatling gun, kind of basic. So you're kind of starting out on a low point, but I think he does have a deployable shield, which is kind of cool.
The video is wonderful. He picks up another Titan while shooting his gun.
Yeah, like is that actually going to be a thing, or is that just purely for like video showing?
Oh, I think that's going to be something that'll happen, but it's like, as you do a death
move or something,
it'll initiate one of
picks another Titan up by the gut, by his gun, and just shoots him in the gut until eventually he splits into two, which is
it's so great.
If those things actually happen, it would be just amazing. Let's see. Ronin, I think.
Looks
amazing.
This might be the one I'm most excited for.
It is a freaking sword-wielding robot ninja.
Yep.
Literally, that's it. That's all you need to know. It's a sword-wielding robot ninja. It's super quick, super light. It actually has a sprint animation and ability, so you can move around super quick. And you have a sword. You basically have a sword. You super quick, and you fight people with swords. You just slice people around. It's awesome. It looks cool.
It's interesting because, like, going back to what I was saying before, I picked, when I was favoring the pilot, I picked the heaviest Titan because that was what I was missing, right? That was filling in the blank. I'm squishy. I have an army of disposable robots. I need a tank with me. And so that's why I would choose that. But Ronin looks like the type of Titan that I would say, whoa, no, I would play as that. Like, I would exclusively, enjoyably play as something that looks like that, that functions like that.
Like, it's a good point bringing up, like, I would say, like, the deployable automatic mode of the Titans. Legion makes sense because I feel like you can just say, hey, go patrol around here, and he could, add to the battle. Like, he could actually
he'd be filling a role that the pilots can't.
Yeah, but Ronin would be, I almost feel like you would have to pilot him in order for him to actually get the full effect of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I love the video of him just being kind of like running circles around other Titans and just slicing them to bits.
Yeah,
really
it's up
cool
my
thing.
alley.
North Star, once again, I'd say the first sniper Titan. I wouldn't say sniper in the true sense of the word, but they classify it as a sniper Titan, so I'm going to use it as such.
He's kind of death reigns from above the Titan.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what you call him, power cores, his ultimate ability would be, if you're a Pharah fan from Overwatch, he boosts into the air, and you just shoot a crap ton of rockets in which way you're pointing. Yep. Exactly like Pharah. But the sniper rifle is, I would say that's not like it has a scope on it. It's kind of like, I forget what it's called, Scorch rifle or something, where it literally is, you charge it up, you hold it still, and it just goes in a very long distance straight line, but it's not like you zoom in on anything, or at least they didn't show them zooming in on anything. So
right, it's kind of like a lance.
Yeah, so maybe there is a way of actually like zooming in and making it a sniper, but it'd be kind of weird if you were to like be a camping mech sniper where it's like, I just need to wait for one mech to walk around the corner, they'll never see me.
Yep.
But so maybe that's why it's not a true sniper, but who knows?
Who knows?
He also has traps. I think he has like a trip mine trap.
That I didn't know. That's
yeah.
really cool.
That's another thing. He has. I mean, he does move around real quick. In terms of, he is, I think, the only one that has like boost or flying capability, where like he can use it at any time. But he also has deployable traps. I think like more definitely like trip mines. I think one of the other ones has traps as well, but it's more definitely. It's
I just love the idea of this. I love the idea of this giant-ass robot, like, gently laying down a trip mine. Like, they'll never notice. I'm so subtle.
It really kind of what it is, but like, I don't know if it's like a trip mine that only like other mechs, because it's like, you think about it, it's gonna be, if it's a Titan size, for a pilot, you're gonna be like dinking your head off of this pole in the middle.
What's this giant?
Who the hell put this here? And then you're like, oh no!
It would be hilarious if it's like, it's still like a trip line, like it's fishing wire. What are you gonna do with that?
Exactly. So it'd be interesting to see if it still can actually attack pilots or not.
What this is missing is that scene on Hoth in Empire Strikes Back, where the ship is flying around the AT-AT and they take it down by just flying circles around it, lassoing its legs. There's nothing like that in Titanfall, and that's crying for it.
Well, I guess, I mean, you have you can grappling hook onto the head, and then you can like pull out something, and then you can like throw a grenade in it.
Yeah. but it's just the tying the legs
there's no,
together.
let's say, like, outside the box thinking on how to take
Yeah.
one down. It's not like you can get them to a corridor and, like, explode a barrel that causes, like, a heavy piece of metal to fall over or something. Or, But moving on, Ion, which I think is happily named, this guy has, his main weapons are lasers.
He starts off by doing a superhero landing, so that's awesome.
Yeah, he has, his regular weapons are lasers. He has shoulder-mounted lasers. And then his power core is a beam out of the laser.
It's crazy.
I wonder where this is drawing comparisons from.
Yeah.
I don't know where. Yeah, if you add one extra letter to
Ion.
Ion's name and you made it like Ion Man.
Yeah, he's kind of like Ion Man.
And it literally to the point of the power core laser went through the shield of Legion and then just destroyed the Titan. So
It's gorgeous. It's so
I
great.
mean, it looks cool, but yeah, it literally is just lasers on bigger laser. So, I guess kind of cool. But yeah, all lasers all the time. That's Ion. Scorch is,
This guy looks cool.
Yeah, he I would almost say is Legion is a heavy in the way of like preventing damage. Mm-hmm. Scorch is a tank in the way of he wants to run in and punch, and he wants to get into close quarters real quick.
He's got these like quake cone damage things, like a cone of damage that he does like an earthquake and
Yeah,
I think there's some
deploys,
fire involved.
A straight line damage area where whether it's a Titan or pilots, anyone who's caught in the straight line takes pretty quick amount of damage over time. And
It looks like he single shots pilots. I'm sure it's just editing for the sake of the video, but it's just
probably,
like,
but yeah, it might not be that quick. But yeah, for Titans, it definitely is like a damage over time that you want to get out of. But yeah, and then he has a lot of Scorchy, I would say, first-person attack type of stuff in terms of punching and smacking around. So he's definitely a close quarters mech. I could say being very highly situational. I remember watching a lot of IGN videos, I think, where they almost only played Scorch. Not sure if that's just because that's what was available at Gamescom or whatnot.
possibly.
But it looked okay, but it didn't look... I don't know, it didn't look great. It didn't look like it was uber-powered or anything else. Like, he was trying to fight pilots, and this wasn't doing much. So, I don't know.
Well, it's almost like, as we were talking about earlier, like with picks and bans, it's almost like, okay, are you going to be our Scorch guy? You know?
Could be, yeah.
Whereas other people could say, I don't know how it's going to work. Do you pick a Titan per match?
It would be my guess. I would feel like you'd make a loadout, and then you go into a match knowing your only Titan is whatever Titan it is, and it's either, yep, it works, or no, it doesn't. I don't think you can, like, switch out Titans.
God, I can't remember for the life of me how it actually worked in the first Titanfall. But
Yeah, well,
let's do the last one before we get too...
Yeah, I was going to say, well, if anyone knows, let us know. Fill in the blank.
Yes.
Very last one, though, before we move on to other bigger, better things, is Tone, who I'd actually say is more Pharah-esque because his standard attack is rockets. I think his shoulder attack is like a type of rocket. But then his power core, instead of like boosting into the air and having dummy rockets, you have homing rockets.
So many.
Yeah,
so many homing rockets.
The highlight for the video was he shoots rockets up in the air. It takes out like a pilot or something, and then they all do this huge arc of a turn to come hit this other Titan in the back, just wiping it out.
I mean, this is like 30 rockets.
Oh yeah, it's two massive rocket barrages that all take off at once.
Oh,
it's so not like it takes off like a few shoot off in a few seconds and just keeps on working out so they're staggered. No, it's one huge wall of rockets. But yeah, interesting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, actually, because I told you before when I saw the very first Titanfall, I didn't want to play it because of reasons of it just looked like a standard multiplayer experience that didn't really make me want to join. It didn't look like it had enough variety, and I didn't see much that drew me into it. Seeing all the new Titans would at least make me want to get into maybe like a beta or something where I can just see what they're like. Where before I just had zero interest whatsoever. So
now you have played Hawken, which is a free-to-play.
Oh my God, Hawken! I completely forgot about Hawken. I think it's still a thing.
How does that compare? Because that's been out for years. That's been a thing for like 6 or 7 years now.
I want to see. Is this still a thing? Like, is this still? I think it is.
According to Wikipedia, the surname Hawken comes from the Nordic given name Hakon, the name of 7 Norwegian kings. So this is not helping.
No, but it looks like it's still an active game. Oh, wow. I completely forgot about
there we go.
this. Oh, yeah, because I played Hawken in the beta for
Released in 2012.
A very long time in the beta. And it was awesome because it was you were mech fighting, but the mechs had the weight and the control and the impact of what you think a mech would have. And almost, if you let's see, how do I put this in the context? Do you remember? Oh, what the hell are those games called? They were Iron Core. No.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You played. It's a type of mech game that you customize 1,000% of your mech. It was on the original PlayStation.
There was a Z.
And it just kept on, it had multiple iterations of it. And you play for the Ravens or something, or the bad guys, or who knows you know what I mean? Oh my god. But anyway, it felt like the very first few iterations of
Armored Core.
Armored Core, yes, there you go.
Armored Core.
Yeah, exactly. So it felt like the very first few iterations of that where everything had weight to it, where, you only moved quickly because you boosted for a second. Mm-hmm. Anything else, you had this big lumbering boom of a walk, and you turn in a way. Your cockpit looked. It all played the parts where it wasn't just I feel like I'm a standard human in just a bigger scale. No, it felt like there is a smaller mech hitting me. You're trying to turn to shoot it, and the guy boosts around a corner, and you're like, shit, get back here, and you're trying to get to the sky, and you really felt the difference of light, medium, and heavy, to the point where if you turn around a corner and there's a light mech in front of you and you're a heavy, you just kind of grinned and one-shot the guy because,
I think that's something that was missing from the synergy of Titanfall, is that the mechs, to me personally, they didn't really feel that different. They almost felt like I was just playing a taller, stronger pilot. And it was okay, fine. But there was never the feeling of, yes, they were a little bit slower, but it wasn't I am in this massive metal machine. And maybe that was a result of, QA testing. Maybe they did do that and people didn't react well. But that counterbalance of, I'm a fast pilot, here's a slow mech. Even me using the slowest, heaviest mech, it never really felt like, this is my Iron Giant.
It'd be interesting to think if they just made mechs far more indestructible, but
more immobile.
Yeah, but everything was so slow, to the point of what a huge robot would be. It's so slow and predictable, where maybe hitting a pilot is just a form of luck. But obviously, when you face another mech, it's where the combat makes sense. You're not going to be. You don't make mechs to kill other pilots. You make mechs to kill other mechs that you can help. Figure out a point control or something like that. But oh my god, Hawken! I remember I couldn't even get into the heavy mechs because I had no synergy with them. I always played more of, I would say, medium light to light mechs, which is weird because I'm almost always a kind of tank player.
Yeah.
But I had much more synergy with the more mobile, more sprinty kind of mechs, where the point where you got your skill was in knowing how and when to boost or engage onto somebody at the right time. Because I don't know, I think I played mostly with a type of shotgun or something, but I love that game so much. I don't know why I
remember you
playing
talking
it.
About that. Yeah,
I miss Hawken a lot. I have to look that up now because that was such a fun game, and it was a multiplayer experience that you can't find anywhere else. I mean, that was the thing that really drew me into it, and it just felt like I'm in a massive robot fighting other massive robots, and I don't know, that is what really sold it to me. And it did it in such a way where it sold it. It wasn't just a concept. It pulled the entire thing.
The illusion was completely there.
Yeah, I mean, I had almost no complaints about it. It was absolutely incredible. The only thing, maybe some of the progression was slow. And I don't know if that's because I was just in an open beta, and I'm not sure if maybe there was some other part that went into it. But Yeah, it was just
Well, it's free to play, right?
yes.
I believe it is, and those tend to have a slower progression.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like I played for a while, and I didn't really have enough points or anything to either. I might have been able to unlock one other. I forget what they're called, Titans or mechs or who knows what.
Titans,
something like that. I might have been able to unlock one more or something, but yeah, it was. I would say it's a fun game to look into for anyone who likes mech combat, because I think it's the only one that does do true, honest to God mech combat.
I'd be curious if you and I play, or if you play Titanfall 2, or get a chance maybe to play a beta of it or something, although they said they won't do a beta on the PC because they don't want
that
PC
annoyed
players mining it for spoilers.
Yeah, I didn't like that at
whatever.
all. It pissed me off that it's only like a PS4 beta.
Yeah.
Because we all know what happens when you do a beta on one system and you launch it on another. What the hell? What just released with that? Where it had like a week later. Oh, No Man's Sky. Yeah, I was gonna say this should be on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, No Man's Sky, frickin' PS4 launch. Yeah, pretty good. PC launch.
Never underestimate the power of a bunch of people sitting at their computers watching a clock tick down until a game is playable.
Well, because it makes no sense to me. If anything, the only way I'd want to do a beta is on PC, because think about how many varying parts, systems, setups you get exposed to when...
Maybe some people have a Phenom 2 processor.
Yeah, exactly. When everyone who plays it on PS4 or Xbox, whatever, well, that's bad. But you know exactly what they're playing it on. So if you make it work for the one Xbox in your shop, it's almost 99% certain to work on every single person's other Xbox, well, maybe server issues. But guess
all
what?
they needed to stress test is the servers. They're not testing like game QA.
Exactly. You would think that the only
system.
Yeah, you'd think the smart choice would be the only beta I want to do is for PC, because then you can figure out, oh, maybe someone with a certain processor won't have a great time. I don't know. That it makes no sense to me.
Sore spot.
I don't know.
It grinds my gears.
It just seems like it makes far more sense, but maybe there's something from a business standpoint that I'm missing. But who knows? But I don't know. Yeah. Unfortunately, Titanfall 2 is only going to have a beta for PlayStation 4. So if you're a PlayStation player, let us know what you think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys are playing it, tell us, in addition to all these other things we've asked of you so far. This is your homework assignment.
Yes, please.
Guys. School's back in session. It's, early September now.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Everyone should have homework. No one, no matter what age you are, gets out of it. So
please have a thoroughly well-worded opening and closing statement.
There will be grades.
Make sure the rubric is printable in a PDF on our website.
The star students will get a gold star.
Oh my God, you'll be moved to the front of the queue.
You will get on the Addicted to Loot Golden Star section.
And boy, is that something. We should offer a golden star section.
Yeah.
Ideas
To be
for the future.
continued.
Anyway. Hey, here's something different. Here is a futuristic game that's coming out, multiplayer shooter, that has multiple classes of things that you can play as. Some of them are fast, and some of them are big and heavy, and it's got kind of like all sorts of futuristic tech and sci-fi, and a nice kind of like mix of human and robotic elements. That's right, it's the next Call of Duty. What?
Man, it's a good thing it sounds so completely different than everything else that's out there.
This is so weird because it's like, I'm really kind of excited for it.
I know, it's weird to think that compared to the other games, which it almost seems very similar to and or takes parts from a lot of other current out there games.
2?
Titanfall 2, kind of Destiny, kind of other stuff. But yet, for some odd reason, when you see it in the pretty box, you want to play it. So it's weird to think. Like, I've seen the Infinity Ward trailers and videos, and I want to play them so much more than the Titanfall 2 trailers, which are weird.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why, because, like, in a weird way, they're kind of similar.
Well, here's the thing. Call of Duty, I personally like a lot of I don't know if it's our age or what, but a lot of us lost interest in Call of Duty about Modern Warfare 2.
Oh god, yeah.
Arguably Modern Warfare 1. I kind of personally was in the camp of like, no, more World War II. I like this. I'm totally fine with this.
I liked Modern. I loved all the World War II
keep it
stuff.
coming. I agree that there was a time, and I remember us talking about this in high school, being like, oh my god, every game is a World War II game. What next? Zombies? And then, all Call of Duty went to Modern Warfare. And my problem with Modern Warfare is not just that, like, too close to home and all that. Yeah, let's do modern day topical Iraq and Afghanistan and all that. But they got really thematically suffocated by let's do these cinematic things with these up and down story beats that are all the same. And then that went into the gameplay of being, what was it? Press F to show respects. It became kind of a joke to be Call of Duty. And then it became very much a joke to be Call of Duty. And to a point of being like, oh only 12-year-old Dorito eating, Mountain Dew chugging kids play Call of Duty, or Nick Beards play Call of Duty. And to a point, maybe that's not a bad thing. There's got to be some sort of bracketing somewhere. And I don't mind if there's an audience of a certain age for a certain type of game. But you can't argue with the fact that Call of Duty is very good at what they do. They're really good. They make good shooters, I think.
Oh, and they make really good multiplayer shooters.
That's what I mean. They make really good multiplayer shooters.
But it's that they make shooters, and they figure out ways how to make shooters better.
Yeah,
I guess it's just they add flashier effects. They figure out different ways to change it. Even before Infinity War, they had Advanced Warfare 27. I forget what was the latest one.
Advanced Warfare, yeah. Might as well Call of Duty 27.
Yeah, because it's like they went from very historical, very accurate, very cinematic, where like you feel like you're part of history, to we're gonna make our own little universe and just this is the distant future where everyone is a superhero, and it almost became a little bit too gimmicky.
Well, that's
for a little while.
Yeah.
Even this one, in a weird way, if you would have given me Infinity Warfare after, let's say, like all the big World War II stuff, I probably at one point would have said gimmicky as well. But it's like comparatively to the other Call of Duties and like what else is out there, it fits into the mold, but it feels like they executed it better than I'd say a few other developers.
Well, Advanced Warfare turned heads in the gaming community because a lot of, again, I don't know really why the bracket exists, but there is just a huge cluster of people. I don't want to pigeonhole by saying these are true gamers versus non-true gamers or anything like that, but there is a large cluster of gamers who said, well, now hang on a minute, Advanced Warfare, now this is starting to sound interesting again. This is starting to look like maybe fun to play, but it still, from what I gathered, I never played it, it still fell victim to a lot of the trappings of a linear Call of Duty game. You're buying it for the multiplayer. And,
well, that's the thing.
Arguments to be made anyway.
I bought Advanced Warfare and haven't played 1 millisecond of multiplayer. And oh my god, did I love that game!
That's Kevin Spacey, right? That's the Kevin Spacey one.
That's the Kevin Spacey one. It was the very first time, it's probably the very first Call of Duty I bought in a very, very, very long time, because I always played the original Call of Duties for the fact that they're giving me a historical narrative, to the sense where I felt like I was taking part of something bigger.
Did you ever play World at War? Call of Duty World at War?
I don't. That was the very last one, wasn't it?
It was a very interesting one. Yeah, it was the.
I don't think I played that exact one.
It was the transition from. I can't remember. I think it went like Modern Warfare, then World at War, and Modern Warfare 2. I could be wrong, or Black Ops or something. Yeah. But what it did narratively was basically where Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3 were. You are soldier XYZ storming the beaches of Normandy. World at War segued that into, hey, by the way, here's this guy named Reznov. And then all of a sudden this guy Reznov shows up in Black Ops, and it became part of the kind of overarching Call of Duty isms. It was like, it was not just a transition in the games changing from World War II to Modern Warfare, but it also was a transition into, we're going to recreate the beginning minutes of Saving Private Ryan, to we're going to make our own Call of Duty movie each iteration.
Yeah, it's just like, I loved Advanced Warfare for what it did in the single player. I mean, it was the very first Call of Duty I got in a very long time because of what I heard about the single player, and it was such, once again, I guess you could say in a way, it's linear because you play level after level after level, leading to a predetermined ending. But it felt so natural to the point where you felt like you were just working your way through this story that was crafted in such a way where I still remember the big twist in it, which I guess it's past the spoiling point. Basically, when the organization you think that's becoming the ultimate good turns out to be the ultimate evil, my heart just dropped. I'm like, oh my god, what's happening here? Like, the fact that it was able to give me like that much of an emotional roller coaster, and then to instantly flip the coin and go to the resistance group and then despise what I just was. Oh, it was just like juicy. And then the ending of it, there's just so many cool little things, like, your arm's injured now, and you had to play like one half of a mission where you could only shoot one-handed weapons, and you couldn't reload them because you only had one hand, so you had to constantly just pick up new weapons whenever you had to reload a clip.
It's like, again, I didn't play Modern Warfare 2 and 3 and Ghosts and things like that, but they've been honing their craft over these games. They've been doing it very well. I'm sure of it, I want to respect them for that.
Like I said, but even like I think I play maybe Black Ops, I forget which one, but I don't know. It's nice to see them kind of coming back to some roots, and the single player in Infinite Warfare, it's
endless war.
It's just the single player. It takes place on Earth and beyond, maybe nowhere similar to Destiny, to the point where you have a single protagonist. So all the cool classes we're about to outline basically don't weigh into the single player campaign at all. But you're fighting robots and humans, and I guess the human backers of the robots. Who knows? Basically, Earth is under attack, and you have to leave Earth to go kill things. And
it's kind of like Call of Duty does a sci-fi story.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a pretty good way of looking at it. And it's, Earth comes under attack, and you have to go figure out the whole thing, kill all the enemies, and you travel everywhere to go do it. And it's kind of that very similar narrative where it's, we have to save the Earth, and we'll go on the counterattack, and you're following, you as a person, you have a name and everything else in the game, and you're following that person's storyline throughout the entire game. Him and his squad. You kind of, after the attacks on Earth, you kind of become like the only guy who can do anything, of course, because everyone else is injured or dead, and that's really the story. I mean, it looked. I don't know if it looks like if it's gonna be well done, but it looks enjoyable. It's to the point where it was so extremely fast paced that you didn't look like you had a chance to relax, which is good for a Call of Duty game, especially in the setting that I think it's trying to put itself in.
I'm very excited about that specific element. And a fan of Dishonored being the very best game of all time, which is a very slow game.
Take number 2.
This looks like... it's really weird. I kind of run on the spectrum. I don't like games that are middle-paced. I like games that are immensely slow and immensely dramatic, or so fast that you can't even process what's going on and you're going completely on reflex.
Well, and that's really what I think what Infinity Warfare is going for. It's like the few minutes of a campaign mission that they showed as part of this, let's say maybe PAX West trailer? No, it was before PAX West. And it was... But yeah, it literally was, oh my god, they're deploying, and then the guy's like running around cover, he's jumping out of cover, he's sprinting with his shotgun to shoot a few things, he's throwing grenades, oh, there's a guy over there, he's just constantly shooting and running and ducking and everything else. even when it's like, oh no, there's a giant turret up there, let's look at a different direction to go, and you run through a house instead of something else. But it was to the point where it was so quick that once again you're reacting upon instinct, but in a way where it didn't feel like, oh my god, there's just a lot of guys in this level. It felt like if Earth was actually under attack by this type of force, it feels kind of right. It feels kind of, I feel kind of right.
I feel right.
Exactly. And then there's this, but it's weird because when I was looking at the gameplay, the very first game that came to mind for me, and I was telling you about this, was Resistance Fallen Man.
That's really weird.
Old PlayStation 3 launch title.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know why, but when the very first time he looked down the sites, the very first thing I thought of was Resistance Fallen Man. Like, it was like that kind of level of pace where you always feel like, man, we're screwed, we're gonna die, this is pointless, but yet you kind of keep on fighting, and you just kind of always somehow manages to win the day. It's like, it's to the point where it's, you're overrun, but you overcome it in a way that's believable, as opposed to like Halo, where you're just one ultra mega soldier who just whoops everyone's ass. And
there are fans of both. I know people who
Halo,
they want to be Mr. Save the World. I don't really, but I will make concessions for this,
Well, it's the thing is, I feel like I could be sold on either if it does it well enough. Like,
yeah, that's
I love the Halo games. I mean, and I enjoyed how they played, but it also the same way I did kind of like what's another good one? Oh, maybe direct comparison, Halo Reach, where you're a whole team of Spartans, but yet you're fighting kind of as a squad, but you're losing the battle, which is interesting because you have one Spartan who can completely destroy an alien race 3 times over, but then you have the squad-based feel where like you're still a single player playing throughout this scripted level, but there's all you feel like you're doing it because of the other AI counterpoints to your squad are doing XYZ. Or they're flanking, or they're giving you cover fire, or something. But it flows right, and this one kind of feels that way. Like you're commanding this one squad, and that's kind of what you're doing. You're leading. First you're leading the defense, and then you're kind of leading the assault. I mean, it looks good.
It's almost like what should have happened. Maybe is like what happened with Sleeping Dogs, which is the very best game.
Oh God. You can't even know.
I will find a way.
I'm not even accepting that one.
Watch how I associate this to Sleeping Dogs. You'll be amazed. Much like Sleeping Dogs,
3,
which was a true crime franchise game that they said, you know what? Heck with this. We're just gonna call this Sleeping Dogs and make it its own game. This almost could benefit from. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a boon to the COD franchise, but they could have said, or we'll just make a game called Infinite Warfare and release it, and people would be like, holy, because the reaction to the initial trailer at like E3, it's really funny because it's like the reaction across like games media was, whoa, this looks really cool. What's this? Watching it like on Twitter, people reacting like, wow, this looks really neat. This is fucking Call of Duty?
Yep.
And it's sort of become a joke to dislike Infinite Warfare trailers to the point where if you look at the YouTube dislike, I think it's got the record of the greatest ratio of dislikes to likes. But if you go and look at the comments, people are like, huh, this actually looks really cool. I kind of want this.
But it's kind of weird.
It's like it's a meme, but it's like, but I actually really want this.
Yeah, like you're doing it just because, like, I'm playing onto the joke, but seriously, guys, I kind of, it's actually not that bad. But it's weird, and this is like one of the very first times in a very long time that I've seen both the single player and the multiplayer.
Yes.
And I actually want to buy the game for the multiplayer.
Yes. Could not agree more.
It's weird. I know, it's like, it's because usually, like, Overwatch, you're only getting a multiplayer experience. Right. Oh, like the original Call of Duties. They have multiplayer, but you're playing it because you have the storyline. And then there's, they have your other games which are like, hey, we're a multiplayer game, but yes, we kind of threw together a half-assed storyline because we want to check the box. Mm-hmm. No, this looks like it has a full storyline, which they put a lot of time into, and a full multiplayer that they put a lot of time into. But I actually want the multiplayer more for the 6 reasons we're going to be talking about. It's just, and by 6 reasons, I mean the 6 classes.
I like that. I dig that. Here are 6 reasons. Let me count the ways. Class number 1.
It just looks like it's so much more enjoyable. Like, it seems like the variety that you get. It's weird because I actually saw the multiplayer trailer before the single player trailer, and I'm seeing all these cool classes and new abilities and cool little aspects of all 6 classes. And then I saw the single player. I'm like, oh, I wonder how these all filter into it. No, you're just a dude who has a gun.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's it? There's like, I don't get a deployable shield, or maybe like I can wall run. No, you're a guy with a gun. Oh, cool. So then how do they come together? No, you're a guy with a gun.
You're a guy with a gun, and look over there. There's another guy with a gun.
Yeah, though it's interesting, but then you look at the multiplayer, and it's just like these ultra uber soldiers that are just like owning people with all these different types of abilities and aspects and guns and, you know, add-ons, and even one of them's a freaking robot, and it's just like, yeah, single players, you're a guy with a gun. Like, it really is the great divide of the single player has story, and that's what drives it. Multiplayer has cool little pretty flashy lights, and that's what drives it.
It's not that I don't trust them to tell me a good, engaging, exciting story about generic white guy number 57, but I don't know. I want the COD game that marries the two, and I know that doesn't exist, but
usually the multiplayer is almost exactly like the single player, but your enemies and your allies are players. This is like the very first time, at least that I am aware of, where the multiplayer has almost like none of the features from multiplayer filter into single player or vice versa. You know what I mean? It'd be like one thing if like, oh, the single player is you're an ultra mega human, and then the single player is you're just some squad guy. But it's like, it's weird. It's like the multiplayer has far more color to it, and then it's, oh, well, the single player is just, well, yeah, we don't deal with any of that. You're playing single player for the story.
I'm sure that it was 2 separate companies. You know, the Call of Duty single player company based in wherever, and the Call of Duty multiplayer company based in wherever.
And they just sold it under one banner.
And they said, okay, guys, we're going to make a sci-fi one. Got it.
And hey, maybe this leads into, hey, the single player is great and the multiplayer is great. Who knows? But I want the multiplayer. It looks like so much fun. And it doesn't even look like, oh, like the Call of Duty like type of fun where like you only have fun if you're winning, and like there's some 12-year-old like calling you a noob and like teabagging you. This just looks like, it looks fast-paced enough that, hey, I probably wouldn't mind dying over and over and over again, just because it just seems like if you know your class and you know the situation well enough, you can be that guy.
It's shades of you know, whatever you want to call it, class-based shooters, TF2, Overwatch. It's got these kind of like,
oh yeah,
this guy functions this way, and that guy functions that way, and together they function this way. You know,
that is a really good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
It's their kind of take on that, and I'm excited.
Yeah, they do. Well, we danced around the topic enough. Let's just dig into these guys. Did you have a chance to watch the multiplayer?
I have multiple times.
I wanted to make sure before. Okay.
The first time I watched it, I was like, that looks cool. And then I watched it again. I was like looking at different things. I was like, I want to play that game.
So these happen in sequential order. I tried to pause the video so I could get a good write-up of everything. So the very first one you get it's called Warfighter. Yeah, someone's really stressed. At the bottom of the barrel.
It's
Friday,
Call of Duty.
5 o'clock. We need a final name before you all can go home. Warfighter, dude, guy, man. Put it in the books. Leaving.
Print.
So, it's sealed. I was just joking. Nope, too late.
Too late, you said it.
So, Warfighter, mid-range assault. The guy has an assault rifle. He has this cool ability, or his... is that if he kills somebody at the site that you kill another player, it deploys a little mini sonar that lets you know where other players are.
I like that.
But it's not like it doesn't happen right around you. It's not a constant thing. It's you need to get a kill to trigger this thing, which I think is kind of cool. Yeah. So it's like depending on the situation you're running into, you could see a trap waiting to happen. You could see where you want to ambush somebody. I think it's really cool. I can see how that he's
your vanguard, right? He's your guy that's like, okay, go in and basically tell us the situation.
Yeah, he's not like the tank, but yeah, he's like your standard frontline guy, and he has One of the things, I don't think they showed it during the trailer, but if you stop it and look at his, like, quote-unquote loadout, he has this thing called a rapid-fire claw.
It looks like a crossbow.
Yeah, but it also has, like, a ricochet to it, too. So it's like, it's an interesting-looking thing. It's like, yeah. I didn't know
My first reaction
like
was that it was a crossbow. It's because it goes out, like, to the sides.
Yeah, because I was like, I didn't know, like, was it, when I first heard about it, I'm like, is it like you throw a knife into a room and it just bounces around a lot of places? Is it like, it's almost like Spider-Man but with knives, or it just like shoots out of your hands and you bounce around different places? Or like you said, maybe it's just a crossbow that has certain things?
I can't tell.
But it looks intriguing. I mean, it looks fun. Okay, going down to the next one, Striker, which is a support-based class, which is weird since it's called Striker.
This guy does one of the coolest things.
And what would be the cool things for you, Tom?
Everything. He looks like he kind of will function like my favorite character in my favorite game of all time, Overwatch, which is Lucio. I'm going to draw the craziest parallels today. I just know it.
I want to see where this... please continue. I want to see how this works.
Well, okay, for the first thing he does, which isn't really a Lucio thing at all, but he slides while shooting a guy. And that's really cool. But then he bounces onto a wall and does a wall run. And that's obviously only Lucio does that. Nobody in like Mirror's Edge or anything like that does that. That's only Lucio. Nobody in Titanfall does that. That's Lucio. That's a Lucio original move. So I want to be the Lucio man in Call of Duty.
But it's weird because they say support, but I didn't see any support in the video.
I can't figure out at all how he's support besides moral.
When I first saw the video, he's like, was this the guy with the dual? Yeah. It's a guy. He's dual wielding two like machine pistols, but he's basically gunning down people while sliding everywhere. So he's sliding. He's taking people out real quick with this like burst damage dual wield thing. Then he like jumps over a ravine, wall rides, and then shoots a black hole into a room.
Much like Lucio's ult.
Oh yeah, where he just sucks everyone into his well-armored shield
healing
deployment booster.
Black hole of healing.
But yeah, so then I'm like, oh, that's so cool. What's this guy? He's a support. How the hell is he support? He was running in ahead of everyone else, just sliding and like black holing around. And the only thing I could see, his special ability, if you pause the video, says that it destroys a lethal grenade. Like it prevents a lethal grenade from having its effect.
Literally destroys a grenade. Well,
like I can see how that being support, because if you're in a room with people and someone chucks a grenade in, and you're like, well, we're screwed. Maybe he stops the first one, and then when it's on cooldown, they just kill you a second time. But maybe he's support in that sense, where he's just trying to let people live. And also, I guess it should also be said, the three, I would say, like there's like the main weapon, the little like special like side flavor, and then like their special ability. Mm-hmm. It looks stagnant in the video. They could completely be interchangeable. Maybe the Striker has 5 of them. Who knows? But as according to the video, this is what they have. So I don't know if they're like, maybe it's like all Strikers have that support ability, or maybe they have different ones they can switch out. Remains to be seen.
The next one is much like how the last one was Lucio. The next guy is Reinhardt meets Winston.
Phantom?
Am I thinking of the same one here? The guy who deploys... Yeah. No, not Phantom.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead.
I was going to say, like, how the hell did you get Reinhardt out of that?
I'm thinking of Merc.
No, Merc, yes, I would completely agree with you on
Phantom is
Merc.
Widowmaker.
Yes, Phantom is definitely Widowmaker minus the grappling hook. Phantom is your sniper. Literally is, that's all you need to think about. It's a sniper armed with a sniper who has a cloak. And the only other thing would be if you're not good at headshots and you can only just do like quick body shots or maybe just damage people here and there, its special ability is that anyone you damage, it puts a marker on it. So I guess it kind of pseudo tracks them. I think it's a cool ability, but if you think about it, if you're a good enough sniper, you'll never use it.
Yeah,
because you'll just kill everyone you shoot.
Yeah, it's kind of like a limited ability in its potential.
Yeah, but I can see why it's nice. Cause like for someone like me, who I'm just like, yay, sniper, yay, and just like maybe it helps my team out more. The fact that I'm just tagging people than killing them.
But the cloak,
Looks awesome. The cloak does look really cool. He gets like in the video, someone flanks him around a car or something. He starts getting hit from the side. He instantly cloaks and just turns and then obviously runs around that guy and just owns him with his secondary weapon. Now, Tom, you may draw your conclusions.
this guy
your
is
ties.
like Reinhardt meets Winston.
What? No.
Yeah, this is literally the walking tank guy. You know,
Yeah.
what there is.
Merc, his name's Merc, and he literally is advertised as the Heavy.
I do want to make a special shout out at this moment in the video. I'm actually rewatching it right now. There's a guy up ahead of him that gets shot so hard he goes flying back like
I was wondering about that.
several yards.
I didn't know if that's like just how people get killed or if he got hit with something special. But yeah, he goes flying.
It's like it looks almost too silly to be intentional, but
That's the thing. It's like, but they left it in there.
Yeah.
Because the way they start showing him off, like he's running behind this teammate. A guy comes out of a side room. The Merc player kills him. The guy he's following, basically runs around a corner and just gets owned.
He gets this full impact shot. You can see a skull appear where he got killed, and his body is definitely like at least 15 to 20 feet back from that point.
Yeah, so I don't know what hit them, but oh my god.
It's almost like I want to be
hit 'em
the
hard.
guy that killed him. I want to know what that ability is.
Yeah, but then, like, yeah, he runs around the corner. Oh no, there's a lot of guys there. He plops down his cool little bubble, which is like the Winston bubble. But then he deploys, I guess, a shield that almost looks like he's deploying a Titan because it has that cool little,
Yeah,
like,
it does the
dire, like he can technically
Geometric.
it's a solid object, but he can see through it because there's like cool like LED displays inside of it. It looks like a Titan screen or like interface coming on. So
and
hey,
he just freight trains like 3 guys.
3 or 4 guys. He just shoulder charges them out of the way and just like owns them. So I don't know if it's like an instant one-hit kill or if he just knocked them down. The one guy at the end definitely looks like he just got destroyed.
The thing is, there's a degree of this that is obviously, you know, some tight editing, but that's still happening. This isn't like cinematic. This is edited, yes, but this is clearly how it will feel to play this guy.
Exactly. It is exactly what... it's what to be expected from the game kind of thing. So at least that's what it appears to be.
Then the weirdly named FTL.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I'm like, I guess they don't care about copyright much at all.
Well, I mean, even then, if you're associating him with FTL, like Faster Than Light, they pick him as an assassin character, but he's not really... I would have assumed that the sniper one was more the assassin.
Yeah, which is weird. But yeah, I guess like sniper is distance killing, assassin is close quarter combat killing, maybe?
I guess, but he's not, you know, there's no cloaking. His only thing really seems to be his drone that he warps to?
Yeah, that was weird. It looked like it deployed like a balloon that he could then somehow boost. Well, if you look at the little list here, he does get one of his abilities is that he gets a boost in a general direction.
Maybe that's what it is. It's like
so I don't know if like
he's not warping to the drone. He's just boosting at that moment.
It could just be that I don't know what the bubble was or what the balloon was. It looked like someone just deployed a red hot air balloon in the middle of the map, like look at my toy, and then it just he boosts
which
to
is
it
the balloon character?
and like cuts through it, and just that's what it is. Like it had to be something. I mean, it had to be. I feel like he deployed something, and then he boosted towards it, attacked it, and then maybe it gives like an AoE or something. Who knows what?
Yeah.
But FTL, which has no direct comparison to any other FTL-based game, it's very fast-moving. He gets a lot of boosts, but he just looked like he had a standard... Oh, he also had additional slide range.
Oh.
Like, I guess that was the other thing. He could slide further and faster than the other classes, but he didn't have... Like, it's weird. I would have thought that this guy over Striker would have the dual SMG pistol things. But he's just running around with a standard... Looks like a standard rifle, sliding around. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't really have any knives or swords. He just looked like he had a boost, he had a drone, and he could slide further. I don't know why he got called an assassin. Like
there's some weird categorizing going on with this stuff.
Who knows? But yeah, he looked all right. Synaptic? Maybe I spelled that wrong. I thought it was synaptic.
Yeah, like synaptic.
Yeah. Synaptic, who literally is a robot. You can just play a robot, and it's weird that out of all these people, the close quarters one is the robot, because robots get no respect. They get thrown into the front lines. No one cares what happens to the robots. We need some more protest people. But yeah, he literally is. His special ability is he goes into like a punching mode. He looks like Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
I'm kind of okay with that.
I mean, it looks kind of goofy but fun at the same time. He just charges into people with his fist out and starts like wailing on people. But yeah, close quarters. He has a kind of he has a dash attack different from the boost because it's a sprint versus not omnidirectional, but where you can basically boost in any direction. He can only boost in one direction on the ground. And his melee specialist, he kind of just punches people.
And
that's all you really need to know about him.
He also does something terrifying. Towards the end
that
of the
weird
video.
running thing at the end?
He basically becomes like your typical Doom 3 / sci-fi fast enemy that makes you shit yourself.
Yeah, but imagine a whole team of them.
I have a hard enough time with that in a scripted game. Basically, the video sort of ends-ish, besides their big climactic montage, with with a guy is doing something, some objective-looking thing, deploying a bomb or whatever. And
I think he's deploying a bomb, yeah.
And he puts it down just in enough time to see Synaptic on all fours, sprinting full force for his face.
Yeah, and then it just ends.
I'm under the assumption it's Synaptic.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, his quick running mode is like him on all fours, and then the guy, you see from Synaptic's point of view, kind of your sprint, what it looks like to be in this fast moving mode.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you switch screens to another player who's arming the bomb. He goes to put down the bomb, and then all of a sudden you just see a face full of Synaptic in this mode, and it just ends. I want to know what happens after he hits. Who knows? But yeah, it would look terrifying if that actually is what could happen. Or if he has that much closing speed, oh my god.
I kind of, not gonna lie, might really enjoy playing as that. Just for that.
Yeah, so that's to say, this game has enough variety within these little classes, especially if they have advancement where you have different types of weapons. Oh, that's the other cool thing. I noticed this. I don't know if anyone else noticed this. When I paused the video to look at all the 3 little boxes that they highlight for each little class, under at least the gun, the main weapon, it said common, uncommon, or rare. And for Warfighter, it actually said his weapon is rare when everyone else's was common. So I don't know what that is. Does that mean...
This must be an item progression, right?
Does that mean you progress items, or does that mean you find items? Did you find a rare drop?
I would imagine that you just progress. That's how they do it,
You think you just... progress to the point where the gun is so high level, it just it basically grows to a rare state. It's weird to think.
Yeah, are you augmenting an existing weapon per character?
It looks. I mean, it looked like it. It was weird to me that they would have common, uncommon, and rare. When if everyone can get it, how is it rare? You know what I mean?
Rare.
If everyone can eventually get it. Think about it. Think about any other Call of Duty level progression.
Yeah.
Everyone could eventually get something. There was no class. It was just, hey, that's the max level assault rifle. No, this is the rare, uncommon, or common assault rifle.
Yeah, are there drops? That's really weird.
There could be some kind of weird RNG drop element or
loot crate.
But yeah, rewatch the video and pause it. They do have under at least a weapon qualifiers.
Yeah, you're right.
Uncommon, common, rare. So that is interesting. If there actually is a chance thing, could you imagine being a month after this game launches, you're just one starry-eyed noob who's I'm going to try a multiplayer game for the first time. You play one half of one match, and all of a sudden it's you unlock the BFG. And you're just what does this do, guys? And you're just like mowing down the entire map without breaking a sweat. Could you like
the only thing I can
like...
think of is that sometimes they'll force that kind of stuff for a promotional thing. You know, like
maybe
to say this person is a water class character, and that like is nothing that ever has any bearing in the game, but it's just like a cool promotional thing.
And you'd be like, "Ooh, what does that mean?"
Right, but you're right because it does.
Class.
It says common, rare, legendary, and epic.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, how do they become that? Is it because you advance them to that point? But I feel like they've never classified item progression with those types of adjectives. Because once again, once you hit a level, they're not rare; they're just common to that level. So it's like, it seems interesting to me that you can have what would make something rare besides a random drop.
That'd be really interesting to find out.
Like, is it like if you get a certain achievement, you have a chance drop or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like what makes it rare?
Loot crates, maybe.
Like you go every time you go on a kill streak, you have a chance of maybe getting,
or when you level up, like.
Or something, or maybe even loot crates. Maybe it's like if you get a particularly great kill streak or something, you get, you're able to get a box, and the box can give you something. Who knows?
Huh. Well, I'm probably gonna get this. There's not a lot arguing against it.
Yeah, I want to watch more, but I definitely want to get it. Do they actually have a release date on this yet?
Good question.
I feel like they should, or at least they're
yes, November 4th.
Oh wow, so 2 months away.
Also worth mentioning is that Call of Duty is famous for having a kind of goofball mode, and this one is zombies in Spaceland. So it's basically we're gonna do zombies, but we know that people were like really into the 80s 3 years ago, so let's do both of those. And it's just like that's one of the most Call of Duty-ish things about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's cool. But I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye on this one. But it's like, for a multiplayer shooter, it's at the top of my list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because, like, compare it to Titanfall, which we were just talking about.
This one gets me excited. Titanfall just looks like, it's not bad.
Yeah. Titanfall, I almost want to reinstall and play the first one to just kind of be like, what was this like again? What did this really feel like by comparison to things that I'm playing these days, Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think in terms of just what I've seen and just how they perform, how they act, I definitely would much prefer Infinite Warfare versus Titanfall.
Very interesting. Let's see how that evolves over the next few months. Stay tuned to this channel. Well, our last 2 episodes were entirely devoted to Gamescom, basically. Which,
I'm just so glad that we can finally get away from this big, convention pool where it was just nothing but endless updates and trailers, and just like, God. It's basically just berating us with all this. I don't know, all this content.
Content, just new information about things.
It was just like, from our perspective, grinding through it was one of the absolute...
I felt like I was there, even though I wasn't there.
It was like a pleasure, but also it was just like this torture, man. I'm just so glad we finally got away from that, that time of the year. We can finally just, kind of ease into everything again.
It was nice to just sit back and open up all my games journalism sources and find out that PAX is going on right now.
If I had a sound effect for banging my head against the wall.
Oh shit, where's my phone? Hang on a second. Oh, this is gonna be great. This is gonna be awesome. Fill the space. Tell a joke.
Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to PAX West. Thanks, Tom.
That's relevant for 2 reasons now. So PAX's West Coast version is going on currently, but it's about to end.
As of when this podcast airs, it ended the 5th, so it's going to be 4 or 5 days ended by this time.
And it was mostly actually a lot of what we did see at Gamescom, being that Gamescom was only just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and it was weird because in prep for this cast, I was trying to scour the web for PAX West coverage and updates, and because usually IGN, PC Gamer, somebody, Polygon, Kotu Kata Kutu Bukuta, usually will have some kind of stream of coverage, but almost every single one was like, yeah, PAX came and went.
Here's another civilization for Civ 6.
Yeah, here's kind of our take on this. We're moving on. Maybe they're as burnt out as we were, but yeah, it just seemed like almost comparatively, PAX West had no coverage or mention at all. Because maybe it was just very similar stuff, or just for 2 weeks, obviously, there's not going to be any huge announcements since then.
Well, I did see a huge contingent of indie devs that I follow on Twitter.
Yeah, there was a big... that's about the probably the biggest part of PAX West, at least, was there's tons of indie stuff.
I think it was able to do stateside what happens a lot with like IGF and GDC. IGF not being a convention, but indie games, festival kind of, celebration of indie. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of indie there. But GDC, too, being, a collection of where smaller scale developers can come and be like, hey, look at this funny physics demo that we're working on. Maybe this will be a game.
Yeah, that's kind of the flavor of PAX West this year. So it's kind of nice because we can kind of do it all in one episode, which is woo!
Wow.
And not even like all of an episode, just
so
kind of like
far,
the last part.
So far, in our entire history, that's unprecedented. So this is breaking new ground.
It is literally once in the history of Addicted to Loot that this has ever happened.
This is crazy.
Is groundbreaking.
I'm glad you guys could be here with us for this moment.
Yeah, this has been a great time that we could share this with one another.
So here's something weird to talk about on PC.
What's that, Tom?
Gears of War 4?
What?
This is kind of weird for a lot of reasons.
That's a what? That's a thing?
Gears of War, let alone.
Pete, are you
Gears
sure this isn't like the the Xbox, podcast?
Oh, last I checked, that's a computer over there, and yet I'm still Gears of War. What? What next? Being excited for a Call of Duty game? Ho ho ho! A laugh.
What? Well, I can kind of quickly deflate your bubble, which is Gears of War 4, which is completely different than the rest of the Gears of War because obviously it's coming out for PC when it comes out for 360, but it's a Windows 10 release.
I don't want to hear about it. Moving on.
At least that's what they said on the one article I read, was that it's coming to the Windows 10 store.
How'd that work out for...
yeah, so I don't know if that's just what it's going to be, or if that's just kind of like a Microsoft-written article, so obviously they're just trying to plug. Who knows? But anyway, Gears of War 4, actually, it's... I was a fan of Gears of War when I was still the Xbox buff, and I actually liked all of them. I know a lot of people had a lot of interesting things to say about Gears of War because of it's just a run around gray blob and you shoot things and it's cover based and it's just
welcome to video games.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are just like, well, I don't see why it's so great. It's just the same thing in different gray textures. I mean,
to be fair, I mean, stylistically it was a little muddy, but it was just flavor of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been, they might have went a little heavy-handed with the grit texture the grit brush of everything, because it's saying, oh, we're all damaged and the world's coming to an end and we all are, this is a terrible place. But at the end of the day, I mean, I love Gears of War 1 just because as a whole, I feel like it was a really good game. The second one, as always, wasn't as good. It advanced the storyline. It gave a few new things. And I actually really liked 3 because of how it closed out the story. It was very fitting. It seemed like it worked, even though it was a little bit of a cliche. I'll definitely say that. It was a bit of a cliche. But it was still good. I enjoyed playing them. It was cover-based shooting to the max, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent.
They basically, I wouldn't say they pioneered it, but they really got it.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the very first games that said, this will be a cover-based shooter, to the point of Gears of War 1, if you were out in the open during a firefight for like 3 nanoseconds, you most likely were dead. I mean, like, you needed to plan out your the cover movement and how you shot from cover and everything else. So I kind of like the fact that, at least back when, it was kind of fresh and new. Now almost every game has some sort of cover-based shooting. Yeah. Which I feel like it has a place in a lot of games, depending on how
it worked in
realistic
Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's this thing is like, depending on how realistic you want, or the type of setting you want, or the kind of pace you want, cover-based shooting makes sense. Right. But Gears of War 4, same type of, all the characters you know and love are coming back. Once again, more cover-based shooting. And actually, this has been in our to-do pile for a very long time, I watched the video a while ago on IGN, which was debuting the new enemy for Gears of War, the DBs, which is just like, really? This sounds like it should be in like Winnie Pooh's Magical Adventure 3.
Listen, Winnie Pooh's Rumbly Tumbly Adventure 2 is still high on our list. Don't get us wrong, but
I mean, but seriously, DBs. What makes you like? It doesn't. At least the locusts and everything else, at least kind of like sounded like an enemy. Oh my God! Get down! The DBs are coming.
and it's DBs. You know, DEEBEE.
Yeah, DEEBEE. It literally is DBs. Introducing the DBs. The only thing I can kind of see why it works is because the DBs are a robotic. I don't know if they're just, they're mostly robotics. Where like it seems like they have but the Horde mode that was released or the videos that were released during PAX West, it looks like the DBs are kind of a robotic, not a faction, but it seems like they're. Ultimately, the humans are in control, but it seems like they're kind of like a robotic force that is employed by some kind of like human overlord. Mind. Yeah, kind of like it seems like there's because most of the time you see the standard Gears of War guys just blowing the bits, different cyborgs and like different types of robotic enemies, but occasionally there'd be a human interdispersed within the color palette of the new army uniform, and it's like though I'm assuming like they kind of try to make the most out of the robotic army. That's just like, we're 90% army or robots, and if we need to, we send in let's send in the technician or something. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But it's kind of remains to be seen exactly what ultimately the new enemy's going to be. If I had to guess, it feels like, I don't know if it's, obviously I don't think it's another human race moving in on Earth to enslave everyone. I think it's going to be one of those, since the fall of the locusts and basically Earth is now all to the humans again, someone has to, move into the power slot, and it's going to be some kind of like tyrannical dictator who somehow made a robotic army, and you have to fight to, once again. It's same type of
here we go again.
Exactly, it's like the same type of motivation, but somewhat different. But it actually I kind of liked it. It looked cool to kind of shoot robotic enemies in the Gears of War kind of not mechanic, but engine. But it just when I saw the original DBs, it was one type of enemy. They look kind of cool. Well, at PAX West, they had IGN played 20 some odd minutes of something called the Horde mode, which I think was debuted in Gears of War 3, which was basically it could be endless waves, or you have to play up to a certain wave. You just have to survive, and you just go through endless enemies, and everyone loved it. It was for some reason everyone loved this mode. It was like almost like it was like. Horde mode to Gears of War was like Call of Duty zombies to Call of Duty. So, man, it was a huge hit. And they bring it back for Gears of War 4. And during the Horde mode that they recorded, a few things stood out to me. One, the DBs have more than just standard light soldiers. They have drones, they have pods, they have bigger guys with rocket launchers. And they also have, looks like husks, looks like people that are kind of like either mad or, who knows what, have been trained over to just kind of be, like, screaming at you, mindless drones.
Zombie-esque.
Yeah. If you wanted a frame of reference, like the Geth from Mass Effect. It looks like they are the Geth... very much comparative. I mean, they're a robotic force that has somehow converted humans to be some kind of weapon for them. Yeah. So that's the very first thing I thought of.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So they're kind of ripping off the Geth. But not only is that, I thought all the original enemies got wiped out during the end of Gears of War 3, but in the Horde mode they are back. So like that they have all the old standard kind of locust enemies. So I don't know if they're back for the Horde mode or if they're actually are in the game. And if they're in the game, I'm curious to see how they work it into it, because the end of Gears of War 3, basically you unleash this weapon made by Felix's father that targets any one of that DNA structure. And it basically in one motion, every single locust in the planet just gets basically vaporized. So
maybe it's just a like side mode, like Call of Duty Zombies.
It could be, or it could be maybe they somehow work into the story where it's like a different type. No one ever figures out where the locust originated from. I think the whole lore was that they actually were a part. Just they're always in the center, like in the earth. They just never came out or something. I can't remember actually that part. My Gears of War lore is a little rusty, but.
Well, you got a leg up on me because I have zero knowledge.
But yeah, so I don't know if it's these are just another subset of locusts that weren't affected. Are they like a new brand that come out? Who knows what? So I have no idea. Maybe they're not even in the game. So who knows? But interesting stuff to think about. But it looks like they have all the same type of guns, same type of control schemes. But Horde mode looks awesome. I mean, it does look.
Oh
like
yeah,
a lot
it
of fun.
looks really. It's weirdly colorful.
Yeah. For the one, yeah, that is a good point. It is not actually that gray anymore.
Huh?
I know.
The expression I just made did not translate very well, but use that sound and fill in the facial contortions as you will.
Huh?
It looks really smooth aesthetically. Like, not just, it looks smooth because it's 60 frames per second. It looks like a smooth process of playing it. And cover-based shooters are really tricky, for being smooth. They can be just a little too sticky, or they can be a little too loose, Who's to say? It's hard to tell what the control to cover translation is.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I both enjoy The Division.
Yeah, I mean, we still need to finish that, actually.
Right?
There's just been so many better games.
It's just so much. There's been so many games. I do want to acknowledge The Division, by the way, for what they recently did. Basically, they had some problems that were sort of stacking up, and they released their first DLC, and then they said, look, we're going to actually not release any more expansions until we fix the problems that have been kind of like backlogged for us. So they took some time to say, we're going to iron this out because we want this to be a game that people continue to play.
Yeah, and I think it's a good stance to take, but obviously in order for the game to ever maintain any type of, life in the video game world, they'll need to always put out content.
Yeah. But kudos to them for them actually stopping and saying, hold up a sec, let's do this first.
Yeah, before we keep on expanding till, we expand too far and we kind of collapse in on ourselves. But yeah, Gears of War 4 looks interesting. I would say it's worth. I mean, it's always going to be worth a check out for anyone that has an Xbox. But it almost looks like it should be worth a check out for anyone that has a PC. It has. I don't know if it's going to be able to have any type of single player drive because of. Obviously they have to completely create a new storyline now.
Right, and is it going to be a single shot? Are they going to anticipate a trilogy? What are they going to do?
So I'm intrigued to see how this Gears of War 4 evolves. But I'm in the stance of I would more recommend stay tuned for more to come versus get hyped or not get hyped.
Right.
I just don't know enough to say whether or not you should.
Yeah. And as someone who hasn't followed or played Gears of War, I'm in that camp too. It's like, this isn't enough to make me say, holy shit, what's this? This looks great. Okay. But it's like, ooh, now I will be paying attention to this.
Yeah. It has enough flashing lights where I'm going to pay attention to it, but I have no idea which way I should feel about it. Probably a good way of mentioning it. And then, a few other cool things came out of PAX West, as kind of like mentioned. A cool little game that I wouldn't say, I don't know if it flew under the radar or what it was. It was kind of Hand of Fate it was one of those games where I think actually you turned me on to it. But it was a game that, let's just say, like, it wasn't a huge release, but when it got out there, it was one of those games where it exploded on Steam, at least for a little while.
It was sort of this little bubble of like, hey, have you guys heard of Hand of Fate?
And then everyone played Hand of Fate. Like, everyone bought it at once. And then, but
how would you describe it? It's like a deck building RPG.
It's a deck building, design your own story RPG dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
Something similar to that way. I mean,
basically.
it used your deck building to allow you to explore and expand a given narrative as you progress through the rankings of, I would say, the decks. So, or as the different targets you're trying to hit. So as you increase targets, you have longer stories, and to have longer stories, you have to add your quote-unquote story cards to your deck building. So it was
you're playing against like a kind of I don't know if you'd
master.
Yeah, he's sort of your antagonist, but he's like a benevolent antagonist. Like he's amused.
He's just telling a story. He's reading the cards and telling you how they happen.
But he is also kind of the guy you're playing against, because when you craft your deck, what you do is you have a starter deck with a handful of cards, which some are weapons, some are items, some are interactions, and as you do these and complete levels of this, you're basically trying to get from a point A to a point B. All cards are placed face down, and one of the cards is the end of the dungeon, which is like the set of cards that's been placed on the table. When you place some cards down, he places some cards down as well. So you can kind of try and craft the most ideal chance of cards by when you're building your deck. You could say, well, I know that this interaction will go well, or I could probably do really well with this one, or I really need this because there's a chance that this interaction will give me health and I'm in need of health. And he at the same time will be like, okay, well, I'm going to throw a little bit of random cards in there too. So it's not always completely predictable.
Yeah, because based on depending on the card you're going after, like the end of each dungeon, he puts in certain cards. But then if you play like me, I purely made decks so that I could always advance the stories. It's like, because you'll get a random card and it's like, oh, you found $1, and then that's it. That's all the card says. But then because of that, at the end of your play for that dungeon, you unlock a card that's like, you return the $1. So then you're like, oh, now I need to find this card randomly through my plays so that I can advance that little side quest, quote unquote. But you can have the same side quest.
You are creating your own kind of, you have to have part A to make part B happen.
Yeah, and it's weird because like you could have that exact same story side quest numerous times. Like I found the Elven Princess 20,000 times every single playthrough. So it's a very, very interesting game. So,
and when you do play combat situations, it actually is a fairly okay, what do you want to call it? Like
it's a little hack and slash.
The Batman system of dodge and then attack.
Yeah, it's dodge, block, attack.
Yeah, and it was actually not really, it was serviceable. There's a good time to use the word serviceable. It was serviceable combat. Unfortunately,
it wasn't groundbreaking. It was good to progress all the card pulls and the stories and everything.
Right. I never actually finished because you're kind of going after specific targets. I think it's following a suit, right? Like
you follow. It's like the Joker of Death or the Joker of Hearts or
right. Yeah. And I never got to the end, so I don't really know if there was ever a kind of like culmination of what happens, or if you just get to the end and it's like, congratulations, you're at the end of the game now. But I loved the premise. I thought it was a really neat premise, and it was sort of like, if they ever make a sequel, and voila, here it is. It looks pretty good.
The one thing, I mean, definitely the game, I think, fixed a few of the issues where, the random number generation was a little one-sided, and
it scaled weird. It's like it got really hard, irreversibly hard.
Yeah, but then it seems like this one has added onto the make your own story, which I liked. I mean, instead of picking out a deck in a shelf, now you're picking out stuff on a map. It almost looks like if someone made like a D&D 3D map to use for their next Dungeon Master session.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the transition. But the one thing I missed, or the one thing I disliked, maybe it's because it's still in alpha or something, but when they do battles in 2, it kind of goes blurry into a loading screen and they just zoom into the battle.
Right, like you zoom into the card on the table, basically.
Well, not even. It's like, I guess like you're your little statue does a little dance, and you zoom in, everything goes blurry, and then you appear in the little field where you're fighting everything.
Right.
I actually liked it in the first one where it showed all, like, your pro cards on one side and then all the random enemy cards on the other side. Yeah, obviously you deploy out of a card, your character comes out, and then like all your weapon cards get played, and then your weapons pop up as each card comes to life, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then obviously if there's like a jack of plagues and 4 zombies walk out of the card, it was a cool non-load based way of progressing, and like, oh, it made sense because now to me it felt like
you were visualizing the thing that you imagine when you do this in real life on a tabletop.
Exactly. Like, if you're going to have a random chance encounter during D&D, that's what it felt like. It felt like you saw the situation if you're playing, like, even like something like, you know, like maybe like Munchkin. Maybe that's a good draw.
Yep.
But, like, when you encountered something in that, instead of just going, oh, I played a card, yep, 2 hits, yep, okay, we're all good, you actually saw, if you zoomed in on that situation, exactly what it would be like in the fantasy world that you're just making. Mm-hmm. So I liked that.
I was really good at selling that.
I don't like the new system. I don't like the fact that you zoom into a card and that it goes blurry. I like the other way far better. Maybe this is a placeholder. Who knows? But
I don't remember enough of how the first way looked, but I'm inclined to agree with you. From what I remember of it, I think I remember what you're talking about, and I think I agree. There was something just sort of weirdly jarring about the way that all of a sudden it was like, whoosh, you're in combat.
Yeah, I don't know. That was my one negative about it. But it looks like it's improving in a lot of things that people had problems with. And I liked the original.
Yeah, it's a really neat game if you stumble on it, dear listener. It's worth it. It is worth your time, I think. Yeah, I do recommend it.
I mean, you're definitely going to find it real cheap on a Steam sale one day. Yeah. It is worth a few bucks. I mean, It is definitely it's a very unique game that you won't get the experience anywhere else.
Right. I think that's the selling point for it, is I haven't really ever seen anything. You know, we were talking recently about Paragon, which I would love to play more of, by the way. Paragon, which introduces deck building to a MOBA. This puts deck building side by side with an RPG, with the concept of an RPG, while not necessarily being I'm going to go out and explore an overworld, you know, kind of thing. It's very much, this feels like a tabletop game. This, you know, there's just all the elements of it are wrapped up in a computer game, you know. Mm-hmm. But it does feel like this was adapted from a tabletop game, which I like that a lot. I think there's a big market for that hasn't really been done. You know, there's a lot of, we're going to adapt Warhammer, we're going to adapt, you know, whatever, and it's just going to be a video game. I want that kind of halfway. Like, I want statuettes and, you know, I want cards, and that's why I like things like Hearthstone and Elder Scrolls Legends and things like that.
It's worth a shot. It's worth a look. I don't know. It's never gonna break the mold. It's not gonna like set the gaming world on fire. But I think if the developer advanced Hand of Fate 2 in the right direction, I think it could be a really nice installment and improvement onto the concept.
Yeah. Here's something brand new. Sonic Mania.
Who would have thought? That's the thing? I've never even heard of a Sonic before.
Sonic, who was once, you may know him more famously as Mr. Needlemouse until they changed his name to Sonic early on in development, after the team decided that Sonic just rolled off the tongue a bit better. Mr. Needlemouse Mania, as I like to refer to it, is literally basically what the next Sonic game really should have been for the past, like, 20 years, give or take. This is Sonic. This is like the sequel to Sonic and Knuckles. This is long overdue in the Sonic world. People are excited for it. We talked about it actually in our first episode, I think, if not our second one.
It was one of those. Yeah, it might have been the first or second one. Yeah.
And it's they've released some gameplay of it, including basically it's literally the level 1, and then a new zone called producer zone, something like that. Sonic Goes Hollywood.
Similar to that, yeah.
Oh boy, what's it called? Studiopolis.
Yep.
Yeah, so they've got Green Hill Zone, which is absolutely, literally, exactly Green Hill Zone. Not pseudo 3D, not beefed up in any way, not changed, not a take on it, so it's not even Sonic Generations. No, this is literally Green Hill Zone for the first Sonic. So there you go. There it is. If you've got muscle memory, you'll probably be right at home. And then they've got this Studiopolis Zone, which looks literally like I thought it was. I think you did too. I thought it was an original Sonic level.
Yeah, I honestly did.
It's kind of the casino zone, whatever it is, casino night zone. Little bit of Hollywood trappings, introduces some random kind of elements, but all look right at home in the Sonic verse. It's got all the sound effects. It's there. It's looking good. If you want this, it's looking like it's what you want. For the people who've asked for this, it's looking like, yes, okay, here it is.
Yes. If you wanted just a really good Sonic update, it definitely looks like it.
I myself am still kind of cautiously looking at, I can't remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. They didn't have a title for it, but basically Generations 2.
Yep. The next 3D Sonic.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I have nostalgia for the original Sonics too, but that's why the original Sonics exist. But I don't know. I kind of run hot and cold on that feeling.
But yeah, they did just release like a cool 7-minute video on gameplay. It's worth a good look. Came out of PAX West. It was kind of cool.
Yep.
A few brand new stuff. I always like little tiny, few buck games, as I call them.
Yeah.
Like I had one that's called Shoot Mini Robots. It literally is a 2D platformer where you just shoot a lot of robots. A few buck game that I found, I forget when, on Steam. But one of the two, I guess another one that was debuted during PAX West is called Rive. R-I-V-E, Rive. It's a 2D action side scroller where it looks like you're a guy.
Is this a mix of the? Is this the mix of the Oculus Rift and HTC's Vive?
Oh, I didn't think about that, but I don't think it has any tie to virtual at all.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. That's a misused name otherwise. But go on.
But yeah, I don't know. It looks fun. I mean, it just looks like it's a well done platform action scroller. I mean, it literally is the same thing where you're just constantly shooting, constantly jumping, constantly dodging, but they have a cool interface and I'd say a cool little take on some little features, like you could hack other types of drones, and that's what basically all the video that I saw showed. It was that you could hack a different enemy type of drone. You could improve your the software of the tank you're driving. Or you stumble on source code so you can improve your tank so that now you can hack a healing drone now and then heals you as you progress through the level when you get hit.
Is it a Metroidvania?
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say that. It looks like it's just, I'm doing level 1-3, and then you complete it, and then you go into level 1-4, and so on. But it looks cool. It looks like it can be fun. It's something maybe worth a look, but it's going to be one of those a few dollar games.
Like Guacamelee and things like that just you kind of
yeah. It's not going to be... Yeah, or oh my god, was it Action Chicken or whatever that thing was
called?
Yeah.
Oh my god, a hard-boiled
something. Hard-boiled, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's this can be one of those games. It could just be even one of those, it comes out on Humble Bundles or something. Who knows?
Yep.
Another
That's where
one.
I got Guacamelee and that hard-boiled one.
Actually, it's interesting. Where I was traveling over Labor Day weekend, I was actually at a museum called the Strong Museum of Play, where it went through. It went through. Actually, had a big exhibit in a lot of arcade games. And in a lot of one of those arcade games, I don't know if you ever had the experience of the old X-Men games or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games where it's
yes! I put so many real quarters into real arcade boxes of that.
Yeah, it has a joystick, attack, and jump, or attack and other attack.
Yep.
And or attack and action, but it's 2D, but you move up the map, up into the screen, down into the screen, and left and
right. Streets of Rage.
Stuff like that, yeah, exactly like those. It's exactly like that, but it's called Viking Squad.
Ooh.
And you play multiple types of Vikings who have different types of play styles, like a ranged one, a dual axe wielding
melee guy. But yeah, it literally is. You can walk up, you can walk down, you can walk left, and you walk right, and you can jump. But it's kind of, it's weird to say it's 2D, but I don't even know what you call that. But it didn't look impressive. It looked like it could be if I had paid less than $1 for it. Maybe it wouldn't be that bad. It looks like I think it'd be another one of those. It'd probably be more fun to play when you have all 4 Vikings or something going.
So kind of like Castle Crashers.
I don't know if I go that far.
Oh, okay.
I
that is a high bar.
Like I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to put a label on exactly what it is, but I don't know. It looks like it'd just be more of a, hey, you want to jump onto this real quick? Yeah, sure. And you just kind of play it with people. It doesn't look like it has staying power for me for a single person.
Something that shows up in the PlayStation Store, Alec downloads and talks our ear off about it for like a year.
Yeah, probably.
Am I right?
And then, like, we eventually play it, and then it's not like Broforce or anything, but I
right.
don't know. It looks good enough. I just don't see anything that wows me.
Is it because it's like dime a dozen, or just nothing?
It's weird because like if you think back to those old days, like I get nostalgic over all the arcade games I sank tons of quarters into. But it's like it doesn't even give me that feel. It's the exact same setup, and it does it in a modern way. It doesn't wow me at all. Either you have to do one of two things. Either you have to like directly remind me of my old, like the nostalgic part of it for me, which it's too modern for that, and it doesn't try to be an old game. It tries to be a modern take of that type.
Yeah.
So then you need to wow me with something new or with some kind of feature or some kind of, I don't want to say gimmick, but kind of like a feature to the game where it's like, this is what makes this game. So Viking Squad, I'm thinking like, what can a Viking game be in this manner that would really sell it? And it just looks like it's just a bunch of guys where you tap either attack or jump a bunch of times, and it's either you kill people or you don't kill people when you dodge. It's almost like you dodge in the sense of a platformer. I just haven't seen much of it or seen anything about it that would really make me go wild. It just looks like it's well crafted, it's well put together. If I got it cheap enough, I probably would do it just so like maybe it could just be another quick jump on game with your buddies. You get a few people that play it. I don't know.
Have you ever played either of the Marvel First Alliance games?
No, I have not.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to send that to you because I think that this may make you smile.
Marvel First Alliance. Oh, it might be it might be similar to that.
This is very much a nod to the arcade box.
Yeah, that's the exact type of game I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I have a specific nostalgia for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What is it? I think it's Turtles in Time.
Like, it's that version of it. And you can move up, down, left, right.
On, modern day systems. But that was the arcade box that I just sank quarters into. Just was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Marvel First Alliance sounds like something that may be more. If you, dear listener, are hearing this and are saying, yes, I'm in line with what Brian's saying, this is something I might recommend you check out.
I'm going to check it out, but yeah, it's that type of game, so.
Yeah. Marvel First Alliance is cool because it has and now you've unlocked Captain America, and now you've unlocked Wolverine, and I love that about Marvel games. They have such a great roster where everybody is great, that it's just like, you've unlocked Jubilee. Great! I don't care about Jubilee, but I've unlocked her.
No, definitely.
I won't ever play as her. So that's basically really it for PAX.
Yeah, that's all we got. I mean, that's all that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, really other stuff has been stuff that we mentioned far more in Gamescom. I did want to make a quick nod to the fact I'm a little more excited by Watch Dogs 2 than I have been. There's a video that went out recently between Gamescom and PAX, and has been doing the rounds, where they kind of just like demo a straight up gameplay. It's still very much scripted and specific what they do, but San Francisco looks pretty fun. It does look like a fun environment. It's, they've said they've done a lot of work on the driving. The story still seems a little bit like it's a cast of tryhards. But I don't know. I feel a little less apprehensive. Have you seen this?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's still GTA light, you know. The comparisons are inevitable because San Francisco, you know, and GTA 5 is essentially LA, right, in the surrounding environment. So it's, you know, it's hard to not say, yep, it's got that West Coast glow, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little better than I did, but still not completely sold.
Interesting.
So I will link that video because that may make someone's mind up.
And well, folks, that's going to do us for another week of Addicted to Loot, episode 8. We, of course, have covered a whole heck of a lot and would love to hear more thoughts or what you guys have to think, what you feel, and just anything else that deals with the video game world. So if you have any answers to any more questions, want to give a shout out of how you guys feel, please let us know. You can let us know at our email at addictedtoloot@gmail. You can also visit our website at addictedtoloot.weebly.com, where you could either leave a comment in any one of our various episodes or figure out any other ways to contact us, whether it's Twitter, through Facebook, basically through anything you really wanted.
Yeah, I mean, there's even comments on SoundCloud if you want to do that.
So, hey, you have more than enough ways to get in touch with us. And as always, you have our personal Twitter accounts, which is myself is at 5th_atomic0.
I am at Tomality, TOMALITY.
But with all that, you can always find all this information at our website, which is the central housing to all things Addicted to Loot. But until next week, I have been Brian.
I have not been Brian.
And we may see you next week.